All right, so before this podcast, we were discussing noise gating solutions. What would you do, Keith, if I just started, like, sauteing vegetables in the background during the podcast, and you just had this constant noise of, like...
I would just mute you, but then also make your screen the biggest one. And it would just be... It would just become a visual show. Yeah.
What happens to your footage when I'm sauteing our lunch in the background, Carl?
For the most part, it's not picked up. The AT2020s are pretty not sensitive, actually.
They're pretty selective.
Do we have the exact same microphone now?
All of us using AT2020s, yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
We've unified.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Like, I liked my Blue Yeti quite a lot, but it was too much. Mm-hmm. Like, it would just pick up everything from, like, my farts to Shell's farts to Bird's farts.
I don't fart.
And boy, the damn
girls don't fart.
I don't ever fart audibly on camera.
And you had to wash out its coat.
Yeah. But like it was a good microphone.
It was
especially
fine.
Like early on when there were two of us and we couldn't afford like a split or anything like that.
Yeah, we were just using the singular microphone to record the both of us, just sat it on the table between us.
Yep.
So we've all transitioned fully away from using blue hardware.
Yep.
I never used blue hardware.
I know you didn't because you're all like, I'm a professional audio engineer or something, and I know better than everybody.
True, I did use yeah.
I might have to use the blue when I do my individual stuff in the other room.
Yeah.
But yeah. If
Not
I get
much
around to
choice in
that.
We are no longer blue dabba dee dabba da.
Nope.
But Wander has a girlfriend and she is so blue.
Yeah. Wow.
At least in D&D.
It fits well.
I'm just talking about how you're going to be the one using the microphone. You're going to be the only one left using the blue microphone in the house.
It's
and
true.
It fits the lyrics. Eiffel 65 predicted the future of the Wanderbot rise to power.
Yeah, you just play one of their songs backward and it's like subscribe to Wanderbot, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. Especially because I was, 8 when their first songs came out?
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, well, should we get this podcast fully underway, or is this underway?
I'm sitting here Googling when Eiffel 65 launched. 1999.
Yeah,
right.
So I was 9.
9. 9 years old. Okay,
yeah.
So we've been playing Fortnite lately, and
yeah, we'll talk about that, I guess.
Got another week into that, and boy, oh boy, it still feels like the game hasn't started yet, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it's very true. I've played a lot more than you guys have, and I think I have to say it doesn't start until Chapter 2, but even then I don't know.
It feels like the game has a 20-hour tutorial.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's kind of one of those where it's like slowly introducing you to mission types. And honestly, like, they really could pace it better. Because, like, a lot of them are just like a lot of the quests that you have to go through are just like, go and, how to describe it?
They get
I guess
you
it's
super
like,
heavily because they'll literally be like, you cannot continue forward with the story until you complete this next mission that we've decided on specifically. And this next mission is loot 1 chest somewhere. I'm like, I've looted 10 chests already, but it only counts now. And I'm like, okay, I'll do an entire mission just to see if I find 1 chest. And it's like, why am I doing this? Like, why are these the missions? You can't progress until you loot chests, but they won't check if you've done it before, which is rough. For me, it's just the game's called Fortnite, which implies that the game's about, building forts. And so far, we haven't played a single mission really where it was really necessary to do more than build a wall and then shoot everybody.
Yeah.
So the mission where you really need to build walls and traps and stuff are maybe the storm shield defenses, because I've done a couple of those and they get a little bit hectic if you're not prepared for them. Like, I ran out of ammo on one. I'm like, well, I guess I got to rely on traps, and oh boy, I don't have any.
Also, we've been 4-man squatting a lot of things, so
yeah, you definitely need more traps
in the game, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, if you play the game solo, the game will automatically try to force you into 4-man squads with random people, because that's supposed to be the way it's played. For me, just the moment I learned about storm shield defenses, where you have a persistent base, I've just started refusing to place traps anywhere besides those missions because I know they disappear the moment the mission's over and you're throwing away your resources. Whereas
I
I
haven't
put
placed
it down
a trap just in a single play session outside of the fort ones,
the tutorial and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Too.
I've actually been placing a lot of traps because as you progress through the game, you pick up tons of like random miscellaneous garbage traps that aren't any good, but also like tons of kind of B-list materials.
I've just been recycling all those.
Well, so here's the problem. I have so many planks of wood that I actively need to make traps, or I have to just throw away the planks of wood. Because this game does kind of that frustrating thing where you've got that like inventory limit and you have no place to like store stuff. So I've got 500 planks of wood in my inventory, and I don't quite want to get rid of them because I might need them. But they count against my inventory limit, so I'm like at 80 out of 100.
You gotta scramble for all those inventory upgrades you can find like inside of your character sheet and stuff like that. And apparently your Storm Shield has an inventory, but I haven't really found where that is or how it works.
If when you talk to the console, you get like an inventory, but it only has 5 slots in it. So it's not exactly reliable for storage either.
Yeah, well, you can increase that as you go a little bit, I think. But even then, like, the idea then is you have to slowly load into a mission for just to store something in your Storm Shield, then load back out of it, which seems a bit much.
Yeah.
In general, like, there's like it feels like a 5-minute delay between me thinking I'm going to play Fortnite and then me playing Fortnite because of the...
Yeah, because there's always so much management too.
Yeah. Not even just the management, but like loading the Epic Launcher, which takes a weirdly long time to load up and log in, then finally clicking launch on the game.
You need a disc.
I've had no such issues with that. It's pretty much like instant transference straight into the game.
For me, when I launch Epic, it takes forever. Then I try launching Fortnite, and it very, very slowly loads and says it's logging me in. But then I hit the go button on the title screen, and then it says it's logging me in again, apparently, which also takes a long time. And like, there's actually a lot of delay before you get to just the menu, where then you're forced to look at like the login screen, and then the daily reward screen, and then you dive into the Skinner box nightmare, which... It's been really weird. Like, Bird and I have been talking about this a lot, about, like, sometimes we'll just spend an hour managing the various Skinner boxes and basically pressing the level up button on 6 different systems, all so that we can then go into our next match where we just shoot guys in the head a lot. Like, the Skinner box is so much more complicated than the actual, like, game depth so far. It's really weird disconnect there.
And I feel like it would be a lot easier to manage things if there were a couple of at least like macros or something like, to take care of really common things.
There should be at the very least like a duplicates tab.
Yes,
on
there should
like
be.
Everything, because we all get a ton of duplicates.
Or there should be
what do we do with these?
There should be like some sort of icon that just says like X2 or X3 or X4 on anything if you have multiple of them, and you should just be able to click on it and just be like, purge these things. I only want one now.
There are weird sorting problems, like if you do the thing like we did, where we looted like 14 llamas in a row. You scroll down and like the founder tokens, for example, will show up like 7 times while you're scrolling down because they didn't combine into a stack for the sake of readability.
Right,
and
that's weird.
That stuff happens a lot, where it's just like, why is that? It's both not sorted meaningfully by category or any order, but also the stacks don't even combine while you're looking through the loots and things like that. It's a weird mess. And then the 10th Skinner box we encounter on this long list of several systems was the collection box or collection book, which is like a sticker book of like, you just put items in your sticker book and it levels up your sticker book for some reason, which leads to more level ups happening because there's so many layers to this stuff. And that one is like, oh, you open a thing, you're like, okay, well, is it okay for me to sell that? Do I have a better one or a worse one? So then you have to like close that, go back to the individual menu for the item that the item's from, and then compare like, do I have dupes of this, or do I have a higher level one that makes it okay to sell this one? Like, you actually can't really tell from the sticker book itself. And so there's a lot of like unnecessary back and forth, and for what amounts to being like the 10th layer of Skinner boxing that happens in the launcher. And I'm like, why is this so convoluted? It's such a level of convolution for what amounts to like how high your health and shields meters are going to be. Because like
it's almost unethical.
Like, you assign your characters to 8 different squads. Your survivors you get like collectible cards. which then just make your stats go up a little bit or something.
I don't really like Skinner boxes to begin with, which is why I don't like MMOs. And then it's like, this is like the most Skinner boxy box I've ever seen.
But I play MMOs for story.
It reaches a level of
Sniffle.
self-parody that actually defeats Warframe in some ways.
The fact that you can put stuff into a collection, like, tab, and then
Like an Animal
you can
Crossing
also,
museum.
You can also level up things if they're in the collection book is ridiculous.
Because you can go into the item that's in your collection book and invest your experience into this already thrown away item to level it up to make your collection book worth more.
Yeah, like, so you basically...
They're just trying to find more points to put things into.
Exactly. It's like you basically have to collect every single thing in the game twice. Like, that's ridiculous.
So, this is actually, I gotta interject for a second. So, whenever we bring this game up, I get a lot of questions of what's a Skinner box. I'm kind of surprised this is a more common term. Because we use it all the time. But yeah, Skinner box is a game... I mean, back me up on this one, because I'm going with my own
There was a
definition
guy
of it,
named
but-
Skinner, he's a scientist, and he would
Okay.
put, like, pigeons in, like, a tank, and a button would give them food. And so he was trying to condition the pigeons to press the button a lot, basically. Or it was some other bird, I don't know. So the idea was to condition them to press the button as much as possible, more or less. And he found that if it always rewarded them immediately, they'd actually just press it a few times till they got the food they wanted, and then they'd stop. But...
Right.
If you made it so it had a random chance of maybe giving them food, they'd press it constantly all the time.
Right.
Which is
Right, 'cause they know
that's
that
the
there's
entire premise
failure.
of like a slot machine. A slot machine is literally the most like bare bones obvious form of a Skinner's box in all of like human life, basically. Because it's literally a box where you interact with a lever over and over again because there's a chance that you might get a profit from it. And that random chance of a reward and that inconsistent feeling of maybe reward, but also working and grinding and that they're sort of in unevenly and unpredictably split around leads to addictive behavior. And so it's actually a psychological way of manipulating people into playing video games more or gambling a lot and taking all their money, for example, because obviously gambling casinos are gargantuan profit machines, and video games lean really heavily into the stuff. And if you play anything that's free to play, it's especially likely to go super deep into this. And you see this super heavily in Warframe and Fortnite and stuff like that, because on top of randomly selected rewards, like say booster packs and things like that, there's also elements of just like having so many progression systems at once that it feels like no matter what you do, something rewards you. And so you just keep playing blindly forever because, I don't know, you're making progress at something maybe, and then you can just kind of keep going indefinitely, repeating the same
Now-
task over and over again.
You can do a lot of really crazy things, and like Fortnite does this as well, where if you vary the strength of like the reward that you're getting, and like if you get like really good things, but those are like really, really uncommon, and you get but you just kind of get things in general, like that makes it like a whole lot more addictive too.
And that's
like
most
how
naked
Magic the
Skinner
Gathering
box
works and stuff like that.
like the most naked
Yep,
Skinner
trading
box in
card games.
particular in Fortnite is the llamas.
trading card games. Yep.
Because you hit a llama and you don't know what's going to be in it, but sometimes you hit a llama and it turns silver. Sometimes it turns gold, which has already happened twice for me.
Yep, I've had that.
And then I got all the super loot, and now Wander wants the super loot, so he's playing even more, even right now during the podcast. And for context, this it's called an operant conditioning chamber is the full name. It was made by B.F. Skinner.
That's the Skinner box.
And
yeah.
it was like 1930s. So
Now, could this be applied to, like, say, in a game like World of Warcraft, there are some quest lines where, oh, you know, if you do this, this, and this, you're guaranteed to get this particular amount. But, oh, here you have to go on a raid and fight an end boss, and it might drop amount,
Yes.
but then
raids are
only
the,
one
raids
person
are the
gets
big
it.
Skinner boxes of WoW, and I've been down that
Right.
rabbit hole of being like a full-time raider, where it's like your job as a human being to be a raider. Like you put it on your card basically because of how much time you put into it and how much it dictates your schedule. And yeah, I've been through that whole thing of like we're going to keep downing Illidan over and over again because I need to get both of the Warglaives of Azimuth on my rogue, and like that's. Fighting a raid boss for a 2% loot chance, like that's Skinner box right there.
Yep.
And that's
you're pressing the lever,
that's the
and
entire
it occasionally
basis
gives
of
you a
games like
thing.
Warframe and Fortnite and stuff like that. And that's why And it's mostly a way of getting people to play as long as possible and maybe incentivize them spending money on the game to help them beat the odds of the Skinner boxing, because you get more booster packs or better booster packs if you buy them. But it's also a way of stretching your content incredibly thin so you can get them to keep playing more without having to make more. Because you make a relatively limited number of assets and just keep remixing them slightly. Or even just have people say, hey, play this 100 times and maybe the thing will drop. And that's how you get more time out of your limited construction. Because a WoW raid is not a huge place, but they made them time-consuming things by making the bosses hard, obviously, but also by making it so, hey, you better play this 50 times.
And then the other final component into how video games use Skinner boxes is like a lot of games will give you a whole bunch of really good, useful stuff at the very beginning, and then slowly stop giving you those things over time, which is what Fortnite does. Like everybody, if you play it right now, you get 15 llamas.
Yeah, they call you a believer, and they give you the believer bonus. You open 15 consecutive llamas, and you get almost 100 loot items, and that's not representative of the game.
Right, but the rest of the game isn't like that. So but you're always tempted, like, hey, if you drop $15 on the game, then you can get a hit like that again. And when a Skinner box very deliberately here,
when a Skinner box fails, that's how you get Pokemon Go. Because when you start playing Pokemon Go, it's great at that. Because around every corner is another Pokemon you haven't caught yet. But they have the trouble of there being only 150 in the launch version, so like you're going to run out. But
they just added legendaries.
Yeah, well, I think they've also added the other 150 and stuff like that too over time. But I mean, like at launch, that's why it fell off so hard. Is that the RNG of getting new exciting Pokemon fell off almost immediately after the first few days or weeks of playing the game. But also, when you're a low-level character, you level up like by catching like two things. Like you immediately level up, and leveling up gives you a big old boost of all these Pokeballs and potions, and eventually start getting Great Balls and Master Balls and stuff like that as you're leveling up. As you get to like, I don't know, level 20 or something like that, it becomes hard to level up. And that means that you can't get that giant booster pack of useful goods that make it so you can actually play the game because you don't have Pokeballs and stuff like that.
So then you have to put the money into it.
Yeah, so suddenly you're incentivized to either track down Pokestops, which is a huge problem if you're not living in a happening urban center that has a billion of them. Like in my place, there's one public park where I can go to a Poke Center, and then once every 5 minutes I can spin it to maybe get a Pokeball. I'm like, this sucks. Yeah. And I can't go anywhere else because there's nowhere else within 5 minutes. Like the idea was supposed to be that you'd be walking and you'd hit a bunch of them on a route, but if you're not living in a place that has them, then you're just screwed. So then you're like, well, I don't have Pokeballs to play the game with, so I can either invest money to play the game or you stop. And that's why everyone stopped, because the Skinner box wore off on them, and that Pokemon Go just plummeted in those early days. It's probably still there, probably has some big life, like it is some big deal number of people and everything, and it's probably profitable, but it's no longer
we
like
saw 20 people outside the other day. That was weird.
Yeah, like it's still happening on some level, but it's not. At one point, it looked like it was going to be like a cultural landmark of some kind, and that's very much past.
It was almost going to revolutionize. It was almost going to be like Pokemon was. Yeah, when it first came out.
Virtual reality in reality, like that kind of thing where you sort of see through the lens of your phone at the real world, quote unquote.
It struck on good ideas because, like,
it did.
It makes you look at the world around you differently because you're looking at through the lens of like how it affects like what type of Pokemon spawn or like social gathering locations, and also it had you meeting people through the context of the game, and that stuff was interesting. But the game is so nothing, and once the Skinner box itself became painfully like skinny and clear to everybody, like it just fell off immediately as a result.
I mean, I think we mentioned this the other night, but we ran into a bunch of adults standing around outside of our apartment. Yeah. And it was confusing because, like, what's going on? Pokemon Go.
They're going to break in.
Neat. But yeah, they were all just chatting and hanging out, and it looked like they were having a good time. Then, like, a bunch of other people, like, drive up and, like, park in our
people are driving their cars over. It's probably like what your street looked like when you had the Dratini infestation.
And it actually was kind of charming because normally you don't have a whole lot of things that bring people together like that. And I was like, oh, this is cool.
That was the coolest accidental discovery of that game, was that.
Yeah.
It was super social.
We would drive like a few miles to the park, like 4 of us, and there'd be like 30 people there, all playing Pokemon Go, because that was a specific spot that had like 5 Pokestops in one spot and like 2 gyms. And so it's like it was a specific like meeting spot that facilitated that kind of stuff. The problem is the game is just so paper thin that you at some point you have to be playing it just to meet people.
Like just tap. It's not actually like a
the Pokemon
they
battles
really
are
should make it
just
Pokemon battles.
The other player doesn't actually like fight back. It's like you basically compare numbers.
All Poke battles are at gyms, and all that happens in a gym is you squat a Pokemon on a gym that just runs the gym, and other people try to defeat it in large groups of people, usually all at once, fighting the AI of your character you left behind, and you're probably not even in the area at the time anymore.
Yeah,
it's as asynchronous as it could get.
I do remember.
It would have been cool if it worked like the real game.
Yeah,
I mean,
it would have been cool if it worked like the real game. People would have liked it a lot more, I bet.
At the very least, a more entertaining way to do it would be like, here's your 4 Pokemon moves. You have 5 seconds to pick a move for each round of combat or something, because they wanted to make it so it happens in real time, but the real time could be like a timer on picking moves, as opposed to tap, 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 tap. You have one move. You have one move for tapping and one move where you hold it for a second, and your tougher like solar beam style thing comes out for whatever character you have. And those were your only real inputs. You could try to dodge, but the game was a laggy piece of crap that barely functioned sometimes. So good luck figuring out how to dodge things.
Aside from the levels of your Pokemon, did they factor type, or was type irrelevant?
Type was super relevant. Type had more tactic put into it than actual combat, because that was the pre-planning of like looking at the lineup of the enemy's gym and trying to get a party lineup that could try to counter them. Is like that's the most strategy that really went into the whole game. Unfortunately, that was just the main thing, really. But yeah, it could have been really cool, and it kind of just didn't end up being that.
I feel like that's kind of the case for a lot of these Skinner box games. They've got this like really core concept, but it gets overridden by how do we make money off of this? Like,
right.
Orcs Must Die Unchained.
I was talk about that. Yeah.
I was pretty down for Orcs Must Die Unchained, but ultimately, it was a really shallow, Orcs Must Die 2 kind of follow-up that didn't really have any of the satisfying mechanics and was, strung out so you could, so you'd have to grind away at the game or spend money on it so that you could, so you could get the cool characters.
Is there must be some sort of correlation between, like, how reliant your game is on a Skinner box versus, like, how deep it is, because I feel like it's really hard to point to a game that has a Skinner box aspect to it that has like a really deep gameplay to it. You can't even really say that about Diablo. What do you do in Diablo?
No,
you click.
Diablo is my example of how Skinner box is just like how an RPG can be completely dependent on that mechanic above all else. Like Diablo is my example of what you're talking about, where like it's really just a Skinner box. Like get your 15,000 loot items. Wow, a giant vertical pillar of gold, because this is a legendary drop, but they happen constantly, so they're meaningless. And go keep leveling up. Play the same content until you're on like it used to be normal, and then nightmare, and then hell in 2.
Yep.
But now in 3 they went past that and made a new system where now it's like it's Torment 1, Torment 2, Torment 3, Torment 4. Play 17 difficulty levels. I'm like, this is the same content looping forever.
I will say, I think the only Skinner box that I can think of off the top of my head that doesn't feel terribly predatory and is also kind of deep would be Path of Exile. And we've never really gotten that far in it.
We've never gotten that far in it because I don't like the world.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I mean,
I don't like the skill system. I don't like item based. Character build skill things.
I rather enjoy that. I rather enjoy the giant, like insurmountable skill tree. It looks like it would be fun. I've just never been in a position where.
Well, the insurmountable skill tree is not a skill tree; it's a passives tree.
Yeah, I know. See, I really like passive trees in games. I'm like,
I don't like them at all.
It's kind of like
because passives are what we're dealing with, like the 17 types of upgrade systems that are in Fortnite, where it's like it's a billion things that don't noticeably impact how you play the game. Because when you're playing the game, you're playing the exact same game, but the background numbers have been manipulated by the trees you've been playing, and that's it. as opposed to like a tree where you get abilities that affect how you play the game and actually affect things beyond numbers.
I guess I appreciate being able to fine-tune what I can do. I don't enjoy games where you're kind of locked into one build or one thing. That's one thing I kind of stopped liking about World of Warcraft, because it switched over to being kind of, here are your attacks. And it was cool, but I didn't feel like I was building a character anymore. The skill tree got, limited down until
it did shave it down, but even with games where you had a level of choice, I remember when we were playing Guild Wars 1 together, and I had my Elementalist, you instantly just, handed me the sheet of, these are the 8 abilities you want. Farm them and get them. And it's like, but I wanted to try using this with this, and I don't want to, use Monk as my secondary class. I want, an Elementalist Ranger or something fun, so I have a pet. And it's like, nope, this is the meta. And it's like, oh.
This was actually one of the secret geniuses of Diablo 2 specifically, is that it had a really cool skill tree, which is that you had a branching skill tree of prerequisites and level gates and stuff like that as you would progress through the game of getting towards different skills. But once you locked into a particular skill you liked, well, then you're like, what do I put points into now because I already maxed out that skill? But every single skill of the entire tree gave passive bonuses to one or two other skills somewhere else on that character. Yeah, so that meant you had a passive tree and skill tree simultaneously. I made a Vengeance Paladin where every time you hit somebody, you would do I think it was 70% bonus damage that in lightning, ice, and fire simultaneously. And if you put points into the lightning, ice, and fire auras, they would pump up those damage numbers for that one attack.
As cool as that was, though, the game was always broken.
Yeah.
Because they could never get the synergies to balance. And even if you fire up Diablo 2 right now, there's I would say probably about 15 to 18 builds that they just never, it was like they were playing whack-a-mole
it's the
with
meta
the builds
problem,
that people
basically.
could do. They kept whacking down one really overpowered, highly synergized skill, and then when they did that, another one would crop up in its place, and finally they just stopped supporting the game. And by that point, there's still 15 to 20 ridiculous builds that just they destroy the spirit of the game entirely.
At this point, that's such a consistent problem. I think either Blizzard doesn't know how to balance games, or they do it on purpose.
It's mathematically not possible to balance it, most likely.
But that's just such the loop. If you watch anybody playing Overwatch nowadays, or a year ago playing Hearthstone, they never stop talking about the meta evolving and I sat down for lunch at some point with two of my roommates, and they were talking about face hunters in Hearthstone, because that was the top build at the time that would just murk people and stuff like that, and but they just nerfed that thing and another thing sprouts up, and that's I think it's just their cycle at this point. It's kind of the negative impact that the meta has on gaming and freedom in general.
I think the only way that you can get non-meta builds in a game is if you have classes with flavor text and different animations and stuff for an ability, but they have an equivalent ability in every other class, which is it.
So that there aren't classes.
There pretty much wouldn't be classes. It would just be flavor and how you mix things around. But yeah, everyone would probably then deviate towards the same things that have the same abilities, and then it's oh well,
I think at the same time, by keeping things fresh, it does keep people from stagnating into one thing.
Yeah. Extra
though
credits.
I guess going back to the Skinner box talk, it also feeds into the Skinner box, because say your main character is no longer viable, your Hearthstone deck isn't top of the meta anymore. Suddenly you have to get a whole bunch of new cards that do fit the meta, and then you can be winning again.
Yep.
And it's kind of this constant cycle that keeps things feeling dynamic, but also keeps you buying or playing or blank.
Mm-hmm. It's there's dark and bright sides to that. Where one, it helps make it so that you're not playing the same game literally forever, but it's also, you can do it on purpose to sap money from people in some really dark ways. That's one thing is that we blatantly know at this point that Blizzard probably does for World of Warcraft. Is ooh, we're making the new Death Knight class, or we're making the new Demon Hunter class. Look how overpowered they are for 2 weeks.
Well,
that's the Game Workshop thing. Yeah,
that's WoW. That's League of Legends specifically. One of the devs actually was yeah, we do that. We make them good for a month or two, and then kind of nerf them down because, I mean, it's hard to bring in new characters and classes because how do you fit that in? But
that
also
might sell the game, but if they really wanted to make money off of people, they would have them starting at level 1, and then you'd have to buy boosts for them.
Well, they did with the monk class and like a bunch of things.
Monk they had start at level 1, yeah.
I think actually monk was the time in World of Warcraft where they actually started selling level boosts. And boy, did a bunch of people buy that.
I think this is why I'm constantly drawn to offline single-player games, is because you have, like, true freedom. Like, I just beat Zelda today, and, like, I just played how I wanted to play all the time.
Yep.
Because, like, when you're not... In both a competitive and cooperative context, if you're playing with other people online, there's this tendency towards optimum play that removes options from a game that's often supposed to be about options. And it's like, it becomes a less positive experience. Like, people play Dark Souls so many ways, but people like a game like Hearthstone. If you're trying to win, like there's such a specific list of optimum plays for like a Hearthstone or a StarCraft that like at some point people have names for all of those specific strategies because they're so familiar. That's unfortunate.
Well, I bet it doesn't help that with the internet and like live media and stuff, you get a lot of people that are actively like touting builds and stuff as opposed to
they have whole sites dedicated for like spell builds and whatnot. And I mean it's just the accessibility of the internet.
I've been playing Albion Online for better or worse, and the game has kind of an equipment based skill system. Not exactly like Path of Exile, but so like if you have like a pair of metal boots on, they give you like certain movement skills, and armor, helmet gives you energy regeneration and healing, and a couple other things. And so I've been like actively trying to figure out what I want to do in the game, because there's so many options available to me. And I actually noticed somebody specifically left a comment on like one of the first videos being like, okay, so you want to do this, this, and this. And then 10 episodes later, his answer has changed so drastically. And he's like, why are you using my old build? You should have moved on to the new meta. And I'm like, this game's been out for 2 weeks.
New meta?
They haven't even patched it. It's just people have discovered this works better. And I'm like just tootling around being like, do I want to use bows or do I want to use axes? Do I even like this game? I don't know.
Do you know what another thing is too? Oh.
And
sorry.
I've been down the dark side of that too, because I was a rogue class leader for a WoW raiding guild, so I was the one crushing people's dreams and being like, no, this is the attack rotation you use, and these are the gears you use, and you need to use damage over time because it's actually better than the big number damage that catches your eyes. Yeah.
Need dots.
That was the contradiction of rogues, was like, oh, by the way, all the bleeds and poisons are actually where the DPS comes from. It's all, at least during Burning Crusade raiding, it was all about using...
I think it's still that way.
Garrotes, ruptures, deadly poison, and slice and dice, because making your character attack faster was better than doing finishers that actually did damage and stuff like that. And like,
I'm glad I never arrived at a point where I have like skills from old video games memorized.
It's so not
drop
worth
the name
it.
of them.
World of Warcraft taught me so many words and how to pronounce them about ruining people's bodies.
Yes.
like I learned garrote and eviscerate and stuff like that. Like me and my friends all used to call it eviscrate because we had never seen it before, because we were like innocent children that didn't know about ripping people apart. But now I know that thanks to Blizzard.
I learned garrote from watching an old documentary on the druids of like the old Celtic traditions and the peat mummies.
Do they do a lot of garroting?
Yeah. And then they, throw them in tar pits, and then the tar pit mummies get found later on, and they have like clear evidence that they were garroted. Yeah.
So before we move away from the Skinner box topic too much, I would like to say, like, as I think I said this when we were first starting Fortnite, but like as a kid who is not allowed to buy games for the most part, because I already had enough, Skinner boxes were kind of my jam, because it meant,
of course. Yeah,
I actually had something to do. Like,
you would be so psyched if you as a kid was growing up now when those games that are Skinner boxes are also free now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. You could just give a kid a clicker game and
there's a whole
I'll see you in
kids,
8 years.
There's a whole generation of kids now that exclusively play free games that are Skinner boxes, and then they watch Let's Plays to see other games, basically.
Yeah.
They just don't have money. because no one has money because the world's fucked. Yay!
I spent like, I want to say 3-4 years playing RuneScape just because I simply, like, between my parents and, like, what money I had, because I wasn't old enough to, hold a job, and I had bought Tales of Symphonia, I think when I was in, like, 6th grade or something like that, and it wasn't until 8th grade that my mother sat down and was like, okay, you can finally buy a new game, and I'm like, thank God. I've just been playing the same stuff for years. I'm like, over-dramatizing it. It wasn't that bad, but, like... for me, like, right now, I churn through games, like, 4 games a week or something like that, which, I mean, admittedly, I'm kind of an outlier because I do this for a living.
Yeah.
But,
there are also
like,
lots of tiny indie games.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, like, as a kid, I just didn't have that luxury, so it was either go play an old game that I've already beaten or have no interest in beating, or play a Skinner box that actually provides endless content, even if it's kind of slow and ultimately mindless. It was a nice escape from replaying something that I had no interest in again.
See, what you needed was a younger brother that's a huge pain in the ass whenever he's not entertained.
I had a younger brother. I had a younger brother that was perfectly happy replaying those games forever. It made it worse. It made it so much worse. I love my brother, but, like, it was impossible for me to
we did have a bad
new
tendency.
games. Because he just played the old ones, and I'd be like, no.
My brother and I we had a bad tendency to just start games from scratch over and over again. Just for some reason, we just didn't, like, load ever. And like by default, the best game ever was Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night's beginning is the end of a game. It's like the end of a previous Castlevania game where Richter comes in and takes out Dracula in a boss fight. And then we have the big dramatic speech like, die, monster, you don't belong in this world. So that's just programmed in my brain now because we probably played it. We probably played the beginning of that game 20 times because it's the coolest, most fun beginning to a game ever because it's the ending of a game.
Yeah, you get all... Because then after that, your shit gets taken from you. And you become really weak.
After that, you're Richter and you defeat Dracula. And the equivalent of the credits rolling happens. Then you switch to Alucard as a different person.
Right, and Alucard is
power.
also really badass. He has amazing stuff, and then Death takes it away. That's what I'm saying.
He gets his powers taken away. But if you just play as Alucard, then it's just like a 10-minute game that's awesome. I mean, if you just play as Richter, I mean.
That's true.
And then if you play as Richter for the main game, then surprisingly Symphony of the Night turns into like a 2-hour game because he's overpowered as shit.
Yeah, well, Richter is like, oh, see that end of the screen? I'm just going to kick through the air and land there, and then also kill everything that's in my way while doing so.
You could dive kick around the entire environment, like, magically, while also every holy water you used could cause holy water across the entire screen that killed everybody, including bosses.
Okay, so speaking of Skinner boxes, how do people feel about Metroidvanias? It's actually, especially the game that you just mentioned, because that is like ostensibly a Castlevania game where every once in a while you'll hit a wall and it'll be like, you need to go get the sword that does more damage. And it's like, does it do anything different? Nope. But otherwise, it won't be able to kill this thing unless you have it.
I liked the Metroidvania, at least in Metroid Prime, the trilogy there. Because it made sense. You approach a doorway and it's like, oh, this is an ice shield doorway. You're going to need the ice beam to go back through here. And then you face all of the enemies that require ice-related skills. And then they might have a boss later on that features that item. But then you start getting into new content where there's a creature that switches between different types. And then you have to use all of your abilities. And I don't know. I think it's fine. It brings a pace. It brings like an aesthetic. That's why you always have like the fire temple, the water temple, the forest temple.
I think Metroidvanias have really good established standards, and as a result, end up being generally a little bit higher quality-ish. At least the good ones do. Like Hollow Knight is still my favorite game of 2017, and probably will continue to be so, just because. Even if there are some like other awesome games coming out in the couple
I'm going to get more messages now.
Oh, asking top
because Hollow Knight's been mentioned again.
Oh, you mean people asking you to play Hollow Knight?
Yep,
it's worth it, man.
Like, I know, but
it's so much better than
There's
Sundered.
So many games.
So, I like it that there's like such a kind of clear defined formula. It's like the Souls-like before Souls-likes were a thing. You know, you kind of had this like set established
Souls-likes
style.
are just 3D Metroidvanias, basically.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I like them, because you get this like really established set of rules. You know, generally fairly difficult, but not insurmountable. A lot of upgrades to keep things kind of cycling and fresh. Gated content, so you know you have to go here, but you gotta find the thing first. It's like in adventure games when you find the key, and you're like, oh, it's the key that opens this door so I can progress in this area.
Yeah. It's actually almost eerie when you hear old critiques of people talking about what makes Castlevania games so great and how it's like the same shit people say now about Dark Souls games, down to like having a careful evasion you can use to avoid things, or how the whole world is interconnected in these cool ways, or how you when you begin an attack swing, you're fully committed to that swing until the animation plays out, so you gotta know when to attack, and like it's like the same description.
Yeah, but I guess specifically when I think of like Symphony of the Night, where you do play as Alucard, there are so many times when it's just like you reach something and the only thing that's preventing you from going forward is you're too low level. You don't need to get better gear, you just need to get your strength point like 10 points higher.
I think it depends on the game.
True. So like Symphony of the Night does have Skinner box stuff built into it, in that it does have randomized loot at times, both weapon loot and like the whole like weird monster soul system they started using. It was either in Symphony of the Night or it was RI of Sorrow or something, where they started doing the monster soul random drops that you were either equipable as passives or would give you new skills you could use. But at the same time, it's a Skinner box that's kind of done right, because it also adds to an extent this idea, like the modern Dark Souls idea, that when people say like you make your own difficulty, like for Dark Souls they're often talking about like how well do you like pre-grind to get a ton of health, or do you summon friends and things like that. In Symphony of the Night and other Castlevania games, you oftentimes could go through every single boss fights and stuff like that without taking hits, if you were really could get it down. So it was like, do I want to keep trying this over and over again, or is my way of circumventing the difficulty instead of memorization to like farm? Like I had the experience when I last played Symphony of the Night, going through it again. It was kicking my ass a few years ago, and so I farmed in the library to get the was it Crusade Grim, the really cool sword that has like a ghost trail and stuff like that, because it was kicking my ass. But tons of people just go through without doing that. So it does have Skinnerbox elements, but in the way that's more common for RPGs in general. But instead of being in a manipulative way, it's a way of like giving you options for how you deal with challenges.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess I can see it that way.
Specifically, this week Keith and I are playing Sundered, which is a Metroidvania with some kind of Souls-like roguelike mechanics, but also like really heavy RPG mechanics too. It's got a giant, Path of Exile, Final Fantasy X skill grid system. And I actually kind of like that, because if I hit a wall, I have a couple of options, which is keep throwing myself at it, or, go off and maybe see if I can unlock a new node that'll help me out. So I ran across a boss that specifically would just shoot a bunch of homing things at me. And it kicked my ass. And, like, I could kind of figure out how to dodge it and whatnot. But I eventually died, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go fight things for a bit, because there's an upgrade node, like, 5 away from me that lets me destroy projectiles whenever I swing my sword. And by getting that, I went back and just rolled over the boss, because it was, suddenly trivialized. Which, I mean, maybe is a sign of kind of bad, like, slightly bad balance, but at the same time, I like that, because it gives me options. But then I've got a whole bunch of cool mechanics to mess around with. Like, I figured out, so you unlock double jump after the first mini boss, more or less. And then after killing 3 more mini bosses, you get the ability to upgrade one of your other abilities. So you could get like an exploding shield or a beam cannon or something like that. And so my upgrade was specifically to turn the double jump into a double jump with a float at the end. And then I figured out, comboing with the wall climb later, I can actually go wherever I want on the map now just by floating back to the wall that I jumped off of, because you're supposed to jump back and forth between walls. And so I've been using that to cheese my entire way through like the exploration side of things, and it feels really good. But I guess, Yeah, you go.
Castlevania actually builds back into the previous conversation where we talk about how, like, taking an existing system and introducing a Skinner box, like, or reliance on Skinner box can make the game actively worse. Because, like, earlier we talked about Orcs Must Die, which is a game that, like, I love the first 2 games to the point where I played both of them to the point where I got 5 stars or 5 skulls on every single level of the entire campaign, including the part where the second campaign recycled the campaign of the first one as a bonus campaign, and I'd 5 skulled it again using the second game's mechanics. Because those were balanced games where you had a specific scenario with enemies coming from here and there and having different waves at different points and specific sets of traps that are available to you that have known strength levels and specific rules on how everything works. And so it was like a puzzle to solve, and that was a cool gameplay thing to figure out. But we played Orcs Must Die Unchained, and it was a Skinner box, so everything can get powerful over time, so everything sucks at the beginning, and if you don't beat something, it might be because you just need to grind for hundreds of hours, as opposed to thinking of a better solution to the problem. And, like, a similar dilution happened with Castlevania, because Castlevania Symphony of the Night was the first Metroidvania that they made in the Castlevania series. Before then, they were literally like go left to right and fight stuff. And at most, I think Castlevania 3 had branching storylines, but like where you could take different paths, like it's a Metal Slug game, but it wasn't a single map.
Branching.
So Symphony of the Night was the first Metroidvania, and they made like 20 Castlevania Metroidvanias or something ridiculous like that, if you take into account all of the freaking like DS games and Game Boy Advance games and stuff. But then in 2010, around the time that they were killing Castlevania and making it a 3D action God of War game with Shadows of whatever it's called, in 2010 they made Castlevania Harmony of Despair. And it was a like greatest hits remix thing where you could play as the protagonists of like the last 10 Castlevania games and play through levels that had assets from the last 10 games and bosses from the last 10 games or whatever. Like it was a remix of all of the Metroidvania games.
Want to know how I know that a Castlevania game is not for me? What? It's literally based on how anime the box art is.
They're pretty anime.
The more anime the Castlevania box art is, the less I know I'm going to enjoy it.
Did you just Google Harmony of Despair or something?
I did Google Harmony of Despair.
It has Alucard. It actually has the 3 of the best protagonists. It has the Order of Ecclesia protagonist, the girl in the back. It has Alucard from Symphony of the Night, and then it has Soma, which was the protagonist of all of the best Game Boy Advance games. That's apparently where the Monster Soul stuff came in. I talked about earlier. But this game is a Skinner box. So this game, while charming in that it wears the face of all the Castlevania visuals, because it literally uses visuals from all the different Castlevania games, all the way down to letting you play as like 8-bit Richter and stuff like that. It's a bunch of assets clumped together in semi-randomized order. And you're supposed to play it over and over and over and over again, these relatively short levels, with your friends, because everything's better with co-op, as you grind bosses for random chances of loot. And the exact same experiences that happened with Fortnite with us happened with me when I was playing it with my friends 7 years ago, which is that, like, I didn't even understand the loot tables yet, and I came in for one round, and I got a super great sword that nobody else had been able to get yet, that they were actively farming for, and everyone's all jealous of my sword, so now they're gonna go play that same level 10 more times, and, like, that was the Skinner box. And, like, it is a fun game, but it is such, like, not the reason why people care about Castlevania, and it doesn't have the legs, because, like, it doesn't even have, like, each level you beat in, like, 20 minutes or something like that, and there was, like, a total of, like, 5 of them at launch, and I think they added 3 more via DLC over time, so it's, like, at most, it's, like, in the ballpark of, like, 4 hours of content that they expect you to play for, like, dozens or hundreds of hours, and that's the horrifying reality of Skinner Box. Like, if Orcs Must Die Unchained was just a campaign I could play through, I probably would have played through it twice already and tried to get 5 skulls and everything. But I can't just play through it because I have to grind to unlock the right to play these watered-down ass levels that aren't really that good to begin with. And this is why Skinner Box
keep
sucks.
Doing it over and over and over again. It sucks.
My other grump with Unchained specifically, I don't know if I said this.
Paid us.
Yeah, well, there's that. I should send them that angry email.
Yeah. We were supposed to. Wander was picked up to do sponsored content for Unchained, and they never paid him.
Yeah, they're okay, give us your address so we can send you the check. And I had. Then they're like, okay, cool. We need you to promote this on Twitter some more. And I was like, I'll put up some vapid tweets, I guess, but like I don't have a Twitter audience.
Tweets.
Dude,
You didn't say vapid.
no, I didn't. Like I was trying to like be campy. Like, do you guys ever watch like YouTubers sponsored content?
For any reason? Painful.
You mean when
awful.
JonTron lost his soul?
Yeah, well that.
I mean, we
Like,
had our
half of
short
his
stint with
content
Loot
became
Crate
commercials.
for a while.
Yeah, I was looking at his channel. He hasn't put out a video in like months.
No,
But like
That's okay.
it's been over 7
I like
months.
to watch Funhouse, but they've been doing more sponsored content lately. I mean, they've always kind of done sponsored content, but like it feels like extra prevalent now. I don't know exactly if half their stuff is sponsored, but it's just like I don't know. It's hard to watch like a YouTuber do sponsored content because it's just like the flavor changes. You suddenly go from like restaurant quality ramen to like
It also depends on
instant.
where in the video it is, too. Because I've seen some people where they have it as like a tail thing at the very end, and that's not too intrusive.
Well, yeah.
But when it's like at the very beginning or midway through, or they just happen to be drinking a Monster and they're like, oh, look, I'm having Monster.
If you want
It's
to see
like,
some of
oh.
the
How
hardest to
many-
watch sponsored content, you watch Achievement Hunter play any MOBA. Because
Yeah,
whenever they play
yeah.
a MOBA, it's because somebody hired them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll be playing a normal match, and they have no idea how to play the game because they don't know what a single button does. They're completely baffled by the video game inherently because they're only going to make the one video and then never look at it again. But then out of nowhere, in the middle of the video, either Gavin or usually Jack will just start listing features of the game out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like they're reading from a card. And it's so...
They are.
It's like, I can't watch it. Like, it's not even
Well,
remotely entertaining.
How many big YouTuber, like, think of your favorite videos by like all the big YouTubers. How many of those videos were made within the first like 10 minutes of them playing the game? Incredibly few of them. Maybe there's a couple of one-offs, but those are usually really funny because the game is so shitty.
Yeah,
that
they
they're
usually
just, like,
pick the
making
game
fun of
inherently
it.
for that purpose.
Right. But if it's a good game, invariably the gold is going to come like a little bit later in the series when they're more comfortable with it.
Like, one of my favorite videos ever was my Let's Try with Andrew of The Secret of the Magic Crystals.
Yeah, well, that game sucks.
But we knew what we were doing there. like why we picked that.
Yeah, but like every other, like one of my favorite videos is usually from like episode, not one, that's for sure. So they're like put in this situation where they have to, reach that goal because that's what they're getting paid
Be funny.
to do.
Just do it. Just be funny.
Is like that level of like, yeah, this is going to be great within like in a tutorial for a video game, and it's not possible, and then they force it, and it's really painful. It's impossible to watch, in my opinion.
Like the Game Grumps, what is this? Could have never happened in part 1 of Sonic 06.
Yep.
No,
It had to be a slow devolution over the course of a campaign of like,
Admittedly,
we've reached a depth here.
we like stumbled upon slow force within I want to say like couple seconds. That was magic.
we had owned the game for like a year before we did that, though.
That was like
yeah,
an inherently
it should've.
strange. That was like just an inherently strange bug, though.
Yeah.
It was such a good one.
Oh my god. Okay, so I want to talk. Can I talk about Sundered seeing as bugs?
Okay,
Sure.
go for it.
So I've been playing Sundered, and it's a new game, and it's kind of buggy. So specifically, it gives you the cannon. Have you found the cannon yet, Keith, or no?
I've only beaten the first mid boss.
Okay, so you get a cannon later
I played
on.
for 2 hours days before it came out, and not yet since because it hasn't been necessary for the
Okay.
schedule.
Understandable.
You've probably
so
played. Have you played 20 hours yet already? I just assume.
I put in 9.
Oh shit!
I streamed it because I stream content. It was one
Yeah.
of those where it's like I kind
You
of
already
have to
do
stream
5
this.
hours.
Yeah.
Well, I have to stream like a bunch of this, otherwise nobody's going to want to watch it. So the night before it came out, and then the night after, I specifically just streamed a ton of it, and I mean it's fun. But so I got the cannon, and it like kind of whenever you get an ability, you the character like you lose control of them for a second. And they run off to like show you how a thing is done. So I've got this cannon now, and it has the character run over and open a switch by firing the cannon into it, and it's like, okay, cool. So that's how it works. The thing is, while you're doing this like little tutorial bit, it actually kind of unloads assets so no enemies can spawn to bother you, and like nothing can quote unquote happen while this is going on. So apparently it bugged out, so it actually nothing ever loaded past that point, including the rest of the level, any enemies, or anything. So like I destroyed a crate, and all of the shards, the money in the game, went flying upwards at high speeds, and I'm like, this is concerning, and I like go destroy some more things, and it just continues to break harder up until I kind of leave the general area, at which point I'm just met with a black void. This is actually on my Twitter right now. Here, I'm gonna go get this screenshot so I can at least throw it in the podcast chat, and it can show into the podcast for this. But effectively, what ended up happening is I just leaped off, and just to see what was out there, and you fall forever, and at first it's like this black void, and then it's green void, and then I found out you could do some like crazy stuff, but like trying to roll and move and stuff like that. Just gonna toss a ton in so you guys can see this journey. Apparently it's not in order because Discord is kind of weird and garbage.
What the hell?
That's Wander in a green void, apparently.
Yeah, it's me in a green void, but if I'd fire the cannon, I'd like fling off into the sunset and all sorts of weird shit like that.
Yeah, for the audience not seeing this, it really is just the interface of Sundered and then just a dark green screen with his character standing in it or falling in it.
Yeah, falling perpetually, but it was kind of fun to watch and interact with and stuff.
Yeah.
So I tweeted to the developers, and I'm like, help. You know, what do? And they're like, I blame Large Crate. I like it when developers actually respond.
Like, what
on
did
Twitter?
you do?
It's satisfying.
Wait, what did Large Crate?
Yeah, so Large Crate was the thing. There's a dead HP bar at the top, and Large Crate is the
was the object that you
perpetually on the top of the screen is like the last defeated enemy.
Yeah,
I've defeated the Large
I don't know. That was really
charming. The world.
That was really charming. I liked that. I think it bugged out about something else the other day, but I don't remember.
I had a pretty similar experience recently because I was wrapping up Morrowind, and I beat the Blood Moon expansion, and you get the Ring of Herstein, which if you put it on, turns you into a werewolf just whenever you want, basically. And you'll stay as a werewolf for the next 6 hours, at which point you will wake up naked somewhere. I did it when I was doing a dungeon dive where my goal was to go get an item, and that was it. And so I knew that no one was going to be down there that would freak out about seeing me as a werewolf. Other logistic questions arise about how like a cat person turns into a werewolf in the first place. But
you're playing Kaji?
My character has maxed out strength, maxed out speed, maxed out agility, like 100, 100, 100 all the way across the board. And the werewolf, I think, just increases your stats even more. And so when I turned into werewolf mode, I was moving impossibly fast. Like agonizingly, unplayably fast. And if I started jumping around in these caverns, it looked like those videos you would see of people like skating, like those speed runs of Half-Life 1 where it looks like they're like skiing through the game like it's tribes. I could do that in Morrowind at that point, but the game's not ready for it. So if you collide with the ceiling in certain locations, there isn't really hitboxes set up, so you'll just leave the level. And so,
for whatever reason, they did not test being able to move at max speed in Morrowind or in Oblivion.
So I fell out of the environment.
They didn't get their hitboxes right at all.
So I fell out of the environments and landed in the water level. And I'm just doing this adorable dog paddle outside the level in the infinite void of water, trying to swim back into the inbounds to try to find a way into the environment again. They animated a dog paddle for your dumb werewolf form. It's great.
You remember the starting town? If you go like, I want to say a little bit to the southeast, there's like along the coast or something like that. There's almost immediately like a cave with bandits in it, and I think that's like where I got a greatsword. Maybe it's been years, so I only have like half the memories for this. But I remember walking into that cave and immediately slipping through the ground and descending into waterland and having to start over because I hadn't saved yet because I just started the game. That was my intro to Morrowind.
Oh no!
Nice.
It was great, but it was also painful-ish.
I think one of my favorite Oblivion cheats/glitches was I got really good at jumping. With the character way before I actually did any arena stuff with the character. This is like my 5th or 6th character. So my character was really good at jumping. I entered the arena for the first time on them, which is something you're supposed to do at like level 1. It's a good way to like teach yourself how to play the game, basically. But I went in at like level, I don't know, pretty high, and I found out that you can jump into the stands of the arena, and it's totally fine. And then the enemies will just the enemies will just come to the edge of the arena and just like look at you with their angry NPC face and be like, "Why won't you die?" Then you just hit them with magic spells from the arena stands.
I had the same thing happen in Morrowind, where you're supposed to get everyone to take you on as being the Nerevarine or the Hortator, and they're supposed to all respect you and gain the like. You're supposed to gain like the allegiance of the entire world, essentially all the primary factions. And there's always like, of each group, there's always like one dude that's like, "No, I'm gonna fight you" or something like that. And so he challenges me to honorable duel at the not Vermeer. It's a completely wrong game. They challenge you to a duel at I can't remember the capital city's arena. I can't believe I'm forgetting this now. I just finished the game yesterday. But I arrive in the audience floor instead of the ground floor because I didn't know how to get there really. And I'm in the audience and he's down there and he's already hostile. The music's playing and everything. I'm like, I guess I'll just shoot him. I just shot him to death with bows while he's sitting there in the arena. And the game didn't treat me like I did anything wrong. I'm like, well, okay then. There we go. I'm a monster.
Yeah, I remember my one friend had figured out a kind of like cheat code that you could put into Jedi Knight Jedi Academy to boost all of your skill levels up
that game
to max.
Was broken.
And the funny thing was, if you did that, you could like jump around the environment, see things that you weren't supposed to see. It was awesome. But the problem was part of the like progression of the game was that you had a choice of 4 or 5 different missions per like system, and you could complete 3 or 4 of them before proceeding to the next section. So if you're a completionist, you would want to complete all of the ones available to you in a certain tier so that you can get as many points into your powers as you can. But the problem is at the end of every quest you choose one of these powers, or maybe it's the beginning, I forget. But if you use this code, you would boost up to max. You couldn't do that, therefore you couldn't play through the game. If you enabled that cheat. So it was only one of those things, if you really wanted to cheat through it, you could do at the very last levels where you didn't have to worry about choosing the next star system you'd go to. But it was hilarious when Sith would get caught in the wall and you could just hear them and you couldn't actually kill them and they'd be like, "It's a Jedi! It's a Jedi!"
They're just really mad about something over there.
I remember in Oblivion, I once enchanted all of my pieces of armor with 20% chameleon. And what that does is if you get to 99 chameleon, it does nothing. So chameleon is the thing that makes you partially invisible. And if you have like 99 chameleon in Oblivion, people will just see you. Like it just like, doesn't work. If you get 100 chameleon, you can punch people in the face and they won't react.
Wait, so does
they won't be able to detect you?
Are you saying like it literally like it doesn't work all the way up to 99 chameleon? Is what you mean?
It basically,
or does it reset?
Know if it was bugged out for me, but like if you get to 99 chameleon, it's like you have 0 chameleon. It does nothing for
Jesus.
you. If you get to 100, it like flips a switch. And you are, like, basically a god. Because nobody will ever fight back. Because they can't ever... You literally can't draw aggro on yourself. Nobody will ever actually try to fight you.
It's been really interesting playing older... just various Bethesda games and realizing, like, every single one of these games ships broken and never gets fixed. And they just stay broken forever. Yep. And then they release expansions for the broken game that also don't address how broken the game is. And it's like, I guess people just want that because they keep doing great. But how many of these games have had like broken sneak mechanics and stuff like that? And
Keith, did you beat all of Fallout 4, yeah?
I beat the main story and then I didn't have any interest in coming back for the DLC as they came out.
Understandable. The DLC was garbage.
People said that Far Harbor was supposed to be better than the main campaign story, but the main campaign story was such a low bar.
Far Harbor was the only thing good about it. Nuka World had some interesting ideas, and then they went back and were like, "Hey, remember settlements? Remember how much you loved those? Okay, so you're gonna need to do you're gonna need to go attack your own settlements that you already own, so that you can complete Nuka World." And I was like, "This is
yeah."
But
they put out an expansion that basically was only really content if you're playing a bad guy. And if your character wasn't really a bad guy, then it was like non-content for like half
effectively
of what
it was just one giant combat area where you murder a bunch of raiders, and then that's just the end of it.
Yeah, you
which
go
was
to one
actually
area
really
and
satisfying.
decide between factions, basically, and then that's it.
Yeah,
because you can't go back and turn everyone into raider encampments unless you're somebody who would do that. Otherwise, that's just there's no substitute if you're playing a different type of character that wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. But know how like if you go into Boston, your frame rate would tank, or did you not really have that problem?
I don't really remember frame rate problems in the game.
I had frame rate problems.
Yeah,
they were bad.
So riding problems.
So the issue would be like if you were playing on high graphics, you'd have to turn it down to like low or normal, just to be able to
play.
Like,
somebody's concentrating on the fact that there's a giant horde of zombies in front of them right now in Fortnite.
And
you're like calling down airstrikes, trying to form sentences.
Yeah, it was kind of impossible, honestly, to like to play in a lot of cases, because it's like here's this like area that you want to go into because it's super enemy dense. The moment you get there, and everything just starts chugging. Like I was trying to do a live stream one day, and people are like, "Go to Boston." I'm like, "Okay." I get to Boston and the game goes down to 5 FPS, and I'm like, this is what happens when I haven't tested my mods in Boston yet. Because like I had one that changed everything into this really nice winter wonderland, which was really cool. Mm-hmm. But there was no like there's no patches, there's no addressing just how awful. Yes.
So did you mention something about how you had to fight your own bases, the ones that you had spent time building?
Yeah, so the DLC Nuka World was the last DLC.
Okay.
For it was the last DLC for Fallout 4, and the point is like there have been these raider factions this entire game, and so the base part of the game, the entire point of it is you're supposed to be building the Commonwealth back up and like building towns and kind of making the place livable again. Mm-hmm. Nuka World is like, hey, all those raiders? Well, you can be their boss now. And so the prequel to me playing Nuka World was my pseudo challenge called King of the Wasteland, where I decided to take every single settlement and build it up. And like, I will admit, I kind of gave up because it was such a tall task, so I only really built up the important ones. Mm-hmm. And the rest, I just did like a nominal effort, but I mostly just captured all of them, which was actually kind of a long process.
That thing actually feeds back into the previous conversation about stretching your content thin via Skinner box mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Morrowind is a specifically crafted experience with like dungeons, with placed enemies and quests and everything. And Fallout 4 is often like quests that are just like, go to that building over there. And they don't say what's in it because they don't know, because the contents are randomized.
Yeah, they actually threw in procedural generation. And, like, we're hyping it up as Radiant Quest. And,
which is why Fallout 4 was so boring. Like, every building was like, will this one have machines, or will it have zombies, or will it have raiders in it? Who knows?
But the whole, like, build-up for my question... Well, I understand. So you had to face your own bases,
Well,
right?
yeah. So, to progress in Nuka World, you actually have to go attack several settlements and destroy them, and replace them with raiders, who then attack your other settlements. Which is infuriating if you already own all of them. There's no like, oh, you mean you already own these places? Like, we probably should like force you to go after your own base. Yeah. No, it's just like, go wipe them off the map, or you can't progress Nuka World at all. And it's like, you mean nobody thought that somebody would have every single settlement already? Like, that somehow did not cross somebody's mind at Bethesda.
No,
it probably did. Yeah,
it came up, and their decision was, oh well,
fuck it. Yeah.
So that
if you decide to turn raider, then you're terrible, right? In any case, though,
I mean, that speaks to a larger writing problem that all of Fallout 4 has, which is as you progress through the story, it asks you to take charge of an entire faction at some point, be it the Watchmen, the Railroad,
Minutemen,
the
not
Brotherhood
the
of
Watchmen.
Steel, Minutemen, or the I don't know, the underground scientist people, and in this case now Nuka World. So they give you like 5 different factions, but guess what? If you become their leader, you secretly become their lackey because you can't actually lead them in any meaningful way. All you can do is exactly do the thing they tell you to do. So by becoming the leader of their group, you actually become like the personal slave of literally all of them as they tell you what your tasks are.
That was one thing I kind of liked about Oblivion, where when you became like the guild master or whatever, you stopped getting quests. And it was just like, you just get bonuses.
Yeah, that happened in Morrowind. I became the leader of the Thieves Guild, and now it's like I have these series of tools that I go to with the Thieves Guild people, and they will perform tasks for me, such as wipe out my wanted level, or in Oblivion, it was like fencing like laundering your money and stuff like that. Yeah. Like that. Yeah, that's you being the leader of a faction.
Right.
Yeah, part of my question, though, is how many games actually force you to face the things that you've been upgrading all this time? I know that Wander said that his one friend in a Final Fantasy game upgraded all of his...
Did you guys ever play
through
Final Fantasy X to the end?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, where like you have to... One of your characters, you have to like fight them, right?
Well, in Final Fantasy X, at the very end, you're facing off against Titus's dad.
Summons.
Yeah. And Titus's dad is like, fuck you, I'm taking your summons. No. They're mine now. You have to fight them. And my friend has managed to make it through the entire game, relying entirely on his summons.
Suddenly it's like, you really should have hired Yojimbo back there.
Yeah. And so he specifically like refused to level up anybody. He just kind of kept the main cast weak because the summons were so badass. Which is totally understandable.
He just wanted to be the ultimate summoner, right?
The rest of the character... I mean, the party was cool, and they had some great attacks, but, like, let's be honest, Ifrit, blows them all out of the water.
Summoning's cool.
Yeah, summoning is cool. So he got to the very end of the game. I was sleeping over at his place. I was playing Final Fantasy Tactics on the couch, and I hear, son of a bitch, and then the sound of a controller destroying itself against a wall. And I look over as the very first summon that you ever get in the game, the
Ifrit, the bird.
No, the bird thing,
wasn't
whatever
Ifrit,
its name is. Yeah.
She starts off with the bird.
Yeah.
The sylph or something?
I don't remember.
I believe that's what happens, but I think you had to face off against that one first.
Yeah. And to fight them in the order that you get them in.
It was like max level. Yeah, Valifor. It was like max level or something insane like that. And so, as a result, it one-shot the entire party.
Yeah.
Welp.
And
he couldn't beat the game.
He couldn't beat the game. He would have either had to sit around and grind, and I don't know why. He could have grinded. I think he could have actually fought stuff.
You're locked in at that point in the game. There are some things you fight, but you can never like leave that zone.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
I think it was one of those where he couldn't get enough healing items to keep himself there to grind because normally you can go back and like buy healing items or rest somewhere. I think
no, but at that point in the game you can't leave that you can't go back to any towns.
Yeah, Valifor's the weird bird that has boobs. Really? Yeah. Why does a bird have boobs? They're not even a mammal.
That was really uncomfortable as a 13-year-old. Anyway.
Yeah, and aren't there other games where, like, let's go say, I don't know if it was in a BioWare game, where you have a member of your party for a long time, but then they turn on you and you have to fight them, so depending on whether or not they were one of your favorites.
There are a number of BioWare games where if certain neutral-ish characters in your party don't become friends enough with you, they'll turn on you at some point and you'll fight them, like Zevran.
Uh-huh.
Prey lets you become best buddies with turrets, and then maybe they can turn on you over time because you stop being recognized as human if you make certain decisions, and you're fortified, carefully placed in mechanical and encampments you've put around will start shooting you. Like there's a number of games that do interesting stuff with that mechanic usually. But hopefully you're subverting something in some interesting way and not just mindlessly doing it, because otherwise it's not interesting. Like, Final Fantasy X sets the idea up because you're trying to figure out like the last summon, and then you find out the dark secret of the last summon, and Unalesca and all these other things, and then over time you're like, I shouldn't be entirely buying into the system, and then the game's like, you really shouldn't have been buying into the system when the ending happens, and they take all your summons away and fight you with them.
Yep. But so he played through the game a second time and never used his summons except for when he was absolutely required to. And so I was sleeping over at his
final boss.
I was sleeping over at his house again, and he just wrecked him with like a max level Titus or something ridiculous like that, because he also got the limit break sword, bunch of other stuff. So like when it finally came time to fight,
really likes Final Fantasy X.
He really liked Final Fantasy X. And then the next morning was his birthday, so he had gotten Final Fantasy X too.
And then he turned into a tidal wave. He never saw him again.
Well, actually, I think he played a grand total of the first, like, kind of mountain level against, effectively, Team Rocket. And then he shut it off, handed me the game, and he said, "This is yours now." And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And then I bought a PS2 and beat it twice.
I really liked X2. Also known as Final Fantasy Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
X2 made me feel weird. I could never play it because I was like, my parents are gonna like come by and be like, "What you playing, son?" And I'm gonna be
but you're
like,
playing female characters all the time now.
But then 2 games later,
they were into the role.
The trick is that 2 games later, they just made X2 again and call it 13. Yeah, that was a game where everyone had a specific class, and you would switch between classes as being the main tactic of how you played fights. And like that was the same system. That was the dress sphere system from 10 too. You reused in 13, where like most of the game wasn't picking skills, but actually just auto battling while having while making configurations of squads. Where like this is the one where that person goes in tank mode and those people do DPS, and this is the one where we all hunker down. And somebody
you could like
spams
program
heals.
them.
Yeah, you also pre-program configurations of classes so they'd all switch simultaneously into configurations.
Apparently, you can do that in the. You can actually do that in the kind of remake re-release of 12, which is neat.
Yeah. I don't really know anything about 12 at all, though.
12 was honestly maybe the last of the quote-unquote good ones.
Before Lightning just turned into this like black hole that consumes the name and the franchise.
Yeah.
Started having like modeling gigs and like was used in magazines as like star models and to advertise like hairsprays and bullshit, and was put on billboards everywhere.
Oh yeah, they did some weird stuff.
Somebody made a clothing line that was advertised by Lightning.
Yeah.
It was way out of control. The character was more popular than the franchise, and it's stupid because she's not even a character. She's fucking character design. She's a screenshot. That's her whole personality.
You're also talking about Japan here. I mean, haven't Vocaloids done a lot of product placement?
Yeah, but no, these are product lines advertised in Western countries by Lightning. Like they were actively trying to like lean on the Final Fantasy brand for
was it
Western
Gucci
products.
or something?
Yeah, it was bizarre.
It's Louis Vuitton, is that the name?
Yeah,
Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, Louis Vuitton Series 4, and I'm looking at Lightning dressed in like a pink shirt and like some checkered pants or something, and she's got a purse, and she's here with Sarah, her sister, and like they're just dancing around and advertising real clothes. I put it in the chat so you guys can see that.
What the hell is this?
Oh man, I need
a
to
real
show
commercial because Lightning was out of control, and she
Japanese...
sucks. She's such a shitty character. She sucks so hard.
Wasn't she like just basically a placeholder character, and then she became
blank.
A thing?
She's in the majority in all throughout 13. She either isn't a character or she's a bitch for no reason to everyone around her. She's so insufferable. The only character I could even take in that game was Saz, because he actually had something to lose and something to care about, because he had a child that was at risk.
Most of the female characters that they had before were sort of like the young, beautiful, wistful one, or the bubbly, like, kind of people. So
they couldn't make them good, so they made them have no personality?
Yeah.
Well, I thought they were trying to go for the whole, like, she's gonna be badass or something.
No, she has
but then
nothing.
It comes off as
It's like they didn't finish writing her, and then they were like, "Oh shit, like, we were supposed to cut her from the game." Oh no!
Yeah, spoilers time. So by the time you actually make it to the sequels, the third game, she actively like has no personality.
They deleted her emotions.
Plot. Yeah,
Wait, it was part of the plot?
Yeah, it's
She's
part of the plot
main
that
character of a trilogy, but in the second game, she's gone because she's in Valhalla for the entire game, so you play as her almost carbon copy sister instead, and they're trying to hype up her absence. Then in the third game, she comes back and she's a super deity trying to save the world and shepherd people into a different existence while having no personality because it was deleted from her so she could serve her purpose. So she's just
Her
a vessel.
purpose to sell Louis Vuitton bags.
But the secret was she never had a personality because she's one of the most boring characters conceived by a JRPG in the history of video games. And she's also the most popular JRPG protagonist in the history of video games. Hooray!
Yep.
We suck. Everyone sucks. Yep. You did this. You all did this. This is your fault.
You sound like John Oliver right now.
He does. So, let's talk about games we like.
Final Fantasy 13 made me mad.
Let's talk about games we like.
That's the opposite of how I felt about Final Fantasy 12, which is a gloriously
what about
stupid. I mean
questions,
10-2. 10-2, I mean. 10-2 is
No.
Don't
It's not question time.
It's not question time yet?
Let's do
Like
one
15,
more,
20 minutes.
Seriously, 10-2 is the most beautifully stupid game ever. It opens at a concert. What the fuck?
I didn't have that many video games growing up. Sniffle.
So, already a topic from a long time ago.
It's all relegated to the Nintendo 64, Wii, and a couple PC titles.
I mean, at this point, you can't play the beleaguered don't get games because at this point you're
now you're
inundated
your
with good
spoiled
games.
yeah, but I'm not the one
associated
playing
with
them,
it.
so I don't feel like I'm playing them.
You get to experience the good parts without any of the stress or difficulty.
That's true.
You also
Like
could
Pyre.
you also could just play them if you wanted to.
Also true. Yeah, you're perfectly welcome to play
They're
video
right there.
games with or without me.
But that's the
um,
problem. I have other things to do, like
Yeah.
art.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
where
have
I
time
am.
for video games because I need to become an artist.
Can we talk
And,
about Pyre for a bit
accomplish
before we
things.
before we
I
get
have
into
played
questions?
the tutorial of Pyre.
You've played the base gameplay, right?
Yes.
Okay,
It's
That's the
soccer.
tutorial.
it's
rugby.
great.
Yeah, it's rugby.
I
I
actually
didn't know.
love it. I didn't know either. I actively. So I've been to 4 PAXs since they had a playable demo at
Yeah.
PAX. I actively refused to even go near their booth. I'd look at the merch and then run away because I wanted nothing to do with any spoilers. Because I went into Transistor hoping it was going to be like Bastion, and then it wasn't, and I was furious. I hated Transistor. And so for this one, I'm like, okay, clean slate, not even going to think about what it could be. I'm just going to go into it knowing that it's going to be beautiful and it's going to have a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
And that's going to
All
be the
you
end
know
of
about
it.
is the audio visual.
Yeah, which is reliable because
Yeah, because the audio is
that-
still great.
yeah, the audio is great, the
How far
visuals
are
are
you?
great. I have gotten to
The bird people.
the bird people.
So I don't think I'm there
probably-
yet. So
Yeah.
you encountered Rocker Dog.
Yeah, Rocker Dog.
that was
was-
funny.
That was one of my favorite musical cues of when the music completely changes genres
Yeah.
to fit
Yeah.
personalities
No,
of
it's great.
characters, and I'm like, I'm listening to a straight up this is like a building rock intro, and I don't want to even. I sat there for 20 seconds and didn't even speak because I was just listening to the song build. I'm like, oh, I like this. This is good. I'm happy.
Yeah.
But I didn't spoil myself at all. All I knew was the screenshots on the Steam page. And those do not adequately prepare you for the freaking paradigm shifts you are going to walk into here. Because I
Yeah.
thought it was a top-down, turn-based, party-based RPG. Where you
I thought it
take
was a
turns
tactical
fighting each
RPG.
other. And then I looked
Yeah.
up and we were playing rugby, and I'm like, what?
It's a sports game. It's a weird
awesome.
sports sim.
It's so satisfying. I love each and every one of the characters, and I love cheesing the shit out of it. So you get an item later on that gives you money every time you banish a guy. And so I gave it to Jadariel, the giant high damage tank lady. Or not high damage, but high attack
She has
range.
the largest aura.
You know, the character,
Yeah.
the bruiser. I give it to her.
She's your
And then-
Ronso.
Yeah, and then I just camp their spawn, slightly off so I don't get murked in the process. Because everybody has slight spawn invulnerability. But apart from that, I am just there to farm people for money for a little while
Up until
before I
you can't
actually
anymore.
play. Yeah, there's like an upper limit on it that you can upgrade, which is super satisfying. So I'm just
Jeez.
like, I'm just going to act like, you know, you come across these people that are like talking about how they hate you or like why you need to lose or like you various things, and I'm just like, I'm going to farm you for money. And
At
it
this
just
point,
breaks
Jadariel
the
probably
tone.
hates us, though.
It's great. Oh yeah.
Because we've never actually gone with any of her rational decisions.
As
We
far as I
always
can
take
tell,
the more
there's no like
adventurous
actual limitations. It's just like, well, okay, you just didn't go with her option. She gets a minor debuff.
So this is worth
Move on.
telling. This is worth telling Bird about what's cool about Pyre is that the game doesn't game over. So if you lose, you canonically lose, and the story moves forward with that loss being part of the story. So it's actually a
We
decent
haven't
incentive
encountered
to
that
play
yet,
the game on
but
a
I don't
higher
want to.
difficulty if you're not having trouble. Is that if you want, you can go to a higher difficulty and increase the chance of losing, so that the story can branch differently. And you'll actually, because you meet the people, you meet all these different people before the actual match starts. You might even like see somewhere you're like, I want to lose against them. Kind of like how like with it's like almost like Papers, Please, where you're making. Like, you're incentivized to make money to save your family, and that's why you're doing the job in Papers, Please. But then there's other circumstances that come up of, like, human trafficking and all these other weird things going on in that game where you're like, maybe I want to let this person through and not that person, even though that person's papers are good or bad and so on. Like, it subverts the primary incentive structure in a cool way. Like
Yeah, because you're trying to get out of the purgatory.
It might actually
area,
be.
and then-
I might do the Bastion thing where I play through Pyre a second time around.
Yeah.
Just to see what changes.
I think I'm going to play it a second time on the highest difficulty and just see when I canonically lose. Because I think I'm going to be the first playthrough without ever losing, because I'm destroying it on normal.
Yeah. It gets a little bit more complicated. Like, the enemies definitely get smarter. I've had them, like, they're starting to, like, pass around me. I suck at passing, so, like, that is something that actively.
But you've
like,
only ever
screws
had
me
them
up.
douse your flame like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I'm never in danger of losing, but it is getting there where, like, by the end of this, I might actively be, like...
Well, actually,
It is very much a new skill set to learn. It's like NBA Jam.
But so, because of the whole, like, you can't lose thing, I'm
got
actually...
our NBA Jam visual novel.
We did. We did, and it's great. But, like, because of the whole you can't game over thing, it actually is, like, driving me a little bit nuts, because it's one of those where I just want to see what happens where I win every single one of them, and then I will more than gladly, like, go back and just shit around and fail all the time just to see what the kind of bad results are.
Yeah.
That would be terrible, though, because I'm just imagining our comrades being like, oh no, we're losing our chance at getting out of here.
Yeah, but
also,
like,
what is it? Do you have to defeat every single one to get out? Or
I have no idea.
It's kind of
how
unclear.
does it work?
Because like, when you start the game up, they show you the constellation, and it seems to be implied that you're going to each of the stars in the constellation, like the location they match up with. But there's only like 7, and the game supposedly is like not that short. I forgot.
Do you
what I
have
saw.
rematches, or like what's going to go
Let's see.
on?
Apparently it's 18 hours long, according to one of my fans, so...
Let's see. Pyre. How long to beat puts it at 10 hours long so far. Whereas like Bastion and Transistor were like 5 hours long. And so I was like, if this game's going to be as fat, like I thought, it was starting to feel like maybe the game would be as long as Bastion was, because of it was implying that there might be only 7 rounds, but there must be either those stars don't have a 1-to-1 correlation, or you finish that and something else happens.
They have been so far, though.
Yeah, they have been so far. Like, there are, I believe, 8 battles total in the entire game.
Because we've been fighting under the corpses of the Titans that were defeated by the
each battle
scribes,
corresponds with one of the scribes, so on and so forth. I think maybe the 18 hours has more to do with like replaying through things. But I don't know. I guess
the issue here is that like the way that How Long to Beat goes is you specifically say, it took me this long to beat the main story, or it took me this long to do main story plus more stuff I also did, or completionist and stuff like that. The main story tier for just beating the story is 10 hours, according to the metrics so far. It's like, I think it just has more that happens. Well, I think the game might not just be only 8 rounds long, because like I got through like 4 rounds in like 2 hours.
It gets longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually gets a fair bit longer as you progress.
There's more like story,
because there's more
and stuff
story
in between.
talking, couple of like mini gamesy things. Which is, I don't know. I found the entire experience.
You acquire
to be
more
very
characters,
satisfying.
and then they have their own little things to go.
Yeah.
Go on, okay.
But specifically, I got a really, really mean-spirited comment earlier today.
Really?
Yeah, calling me like a supergiant apologist fanboy, and that the Pyre is, one of the worst games they've ever seen. And I'm like, excuse me, I hated Transistor. It's one of my biggest disappointments next to No Man's Sky. I think I'm a fairly reliable source for liking or not liking a Supergiant game.
Don't you like how people have to subvert the reason why they disagree with you? It always has to be because you're corrupt in some way.
Yeah.
Like I had someone say because I liked the ending of Prey and thought it was actually like one of the coolest endings of that kind of story I've ever seen. Somebody was like, "Be honest, this was a total cop-out." I'm like, "Be honest? What?" when has anyone had to tell me to be honest about something? Excuse me?
I get in trouble when I'm honest.
You tend to hide your thoughts, Keith.
Yeah, I'm really secretive about my opinions of things, is what I am.
Mm-hmm.
God, we have to spoiler cast Prey. We cannot talk about it during a normal podcast, but we have to get around to how cool some of that shit is. Because, that's a really cool idea for an ending that we will not hint at all right now in the middle of a podcast.
Do they have a sequel in the works that could actually use that, or nah?
I mean, Bethesda would probably make them, regardless.
Well, I mean, the ending would imply that there probably will be a sequel. So.
I mean, this was supposedly a sequel reimagining of Prey to begin with, which didn't need a sequel. So Bethesda doesn't give a shit. If they have any name recognition, they're going to cash it in.
Doesn't really seem like a remaking of Prey, because as I recall from footage of the original Prey, there was like a space station and all these different alien races interacting with you, and bounty hunter-y stuff.
It's more of
the
a
original
sequel.
Prey. So you're thinking of the version that never came out, which isn't even like that. Like you're thinking of a version that never existed. The original Prey.
No, but there's another one.
Yeah, the original Prey that happened it is not even close to what you're thinking of, because that was a weird, like, one of the many attempts to make this game that never came out. The original version from 2007-ish was a game where you were playing as a Native American that lived on a Native American reservation in a modern day, and you have like the wise grandpa that talks about all the Native American ways, whereas you're the new millennial guy that doesn't give a shit about traditions and stuff like that. And then an alien invasion happens that kidnaps your grandpa and your girlfriend, and you go onto their ship, and like there's gravity-defying walls and weird guns, and your grandpa gets stabbed the shit out of by a giant machine because they're just like grabbing humans and like sucking juices out of them or whatever the hell. Like they're doing alien-y stuff that you don't understand. So you then proceed to play like 10 hours of like Quake style, just shoot everything everywhere combat, like a Doom game and stuff like that. And like that's it. Like that's more or less what it is. You're trying to save your girlfriend from the horrible alien monstrosity machine with a few cool gimmicks of having genuine portals, like in a Portal, before that was much of a thing. And then also the ability to run up walls and change gravity directions, which is really cool. But there's literally no connection to Prey, the new one. There's no story connection besides space aliens, technically. But like the space aliens are such a
companion too in the first Prey.
I thought you turned into like a bird spirit or something weird.
Something like that.
It leaned heavily into the Native American stuff, where if you ever died, you went into like a Native American afterlife where you fought spirit monsters to regain your health and energy. Then you would respawn exactly where you died. So you never truly died. It was when everyone was trying to experiment with death systems. So they would like around the time BioShock was like, you just pop back out in a Vita chamber. Isn't that weird? And then also. Too Human had you getting resurrected by a Valkyrie every time you died, and instead of actually dying. But yeah, Prey, like it's
more of a BioShock follow-up than anything else.
Yeah, the new Prey is like BioShock and Deus Ex and Dishonored, and it's by the people that made Dishonored, so it's very much that. Like, here's a vague task; it's way over there. Do whatever you want to get there and complete the task, and like that's the fun of it. Whereas the original Prey was you have like 10 guns and your options are shoot them with this gun or that gun while you go down corridors.
It's good.
There's no level of similarity besides Bethesda wanted to keep their IP name copyright active or something. Like Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, they paid money for it, so they were going to make money from it.
It's almost hurting the game because no one wanted a sequel to Prey.
And they sued Prey for the Gods. Well, like, I think the thing is, it had enough, like, residual hype that by, like, leaning on the name and the IP, they were able to kind of, like, gain some extra interest when they really didn't need to, because, like, They could have just pulled a Horizon Zero Dawn, made a completely new IP, and had it be fantastic.
Yeah. But they kept hinting at making a Prey 2 for like 5 years. And so they're like, this is Prey 2 now. It's just called Prey. Are you confused yet?
I don't remember actually what the aliens were called in Prey. I've forgotten. It's been a month.
Something morphs, right?
How often is it that the first follow-up of a game franchise is called the same thing again? Like, Tomb Raider had to get to like 8 games before they called it Tomb Raider again.
What was the first... What was the first Rambo movie called?
Well,
First Blood?
I think... Yes. Yeah, I think that's actually like the flavor of the season, though, because we've got Doom, we've got Tomb Raider, we've got Wolfenstein, like a bunch of kind of reboots, and
from Bethesda in many cases.
Yeah, actually, wow. I kind of hate the company. I wish they'd disappear and the developers would stick around.
Yeah, we got we got a new Wolfenstein called Wolfenstein, a new Tomb Raider called Tomb Raider, a new Prey called Prey, and we got a new Thief called Thief. We got a new Doom called Doom.
Yeah,
it's kind of silly.
Really, because... with no add-ons, no addendums.
No.
Wolfenstein was called Wolfenstein: The New Order. That's the only one that has a subtitle.
Yeah,
every single one of them is just called the original name again. Kind of like how Fast and Furious 4 was called Fast and Furious.
It's going to be really funny in like another 10 years when they do it again. And then there's going to be...
we have 3 of the same name.
It's going to be like...
to number them.
You're going to be talking about Doom 1993. That's going to be 20 years, I guess. Doom 1993, Doom 2016, and then Doom 2035.
I can't wait until they reboot the Tomb Raider universe again.
Yeah.
So we can do the Tomb Raider marathon and play the guess which game this is.
It's gone to the point where
Tomb Raider.
It's gone to the point where when I send out the emails about the Patreon vote, whenever it's time to pick the next game, I have an example of like, be specific. Like, for example, Tomb Raider 1997 or Tomb Raider 2013. Because I need to know what game they're talking about, so I know which one's being nominated. Because one of the things was like, Doom got nominated at one point, and I'm like, which one do you mean? I have to ask you because I need to put the number at the end so I know so I know what I'm playing and people know what they're voting for if they vote for that Doom. And they meant the new one, but I didn't know.
In the kind of similar vein, I got a comment when I was putting up my like voting because I was talking about which Metro game I was going to be playing, and I'd mentioned Metro Last Light, and apparently I blew somebody's mind because they had no idea Metro Last Light was anything other than a remake. Like, they didn't realize there was a direct sequel.
Are you playing Metro Last Light?
Because there's Metro 2033, Metro 2034 Last Light, but then there's also simultaneously remakes of both of those games that came out not long after, so it's hard to tell if you're talking about a sequel or a remake when you discuss that franchise now.
I'm very curious to see how Metro Last Light Redux is, because Metro Redux was pretty good. Metro Last Light, they have a lot of things they could probably improve upon, we'll say. So we'll see if they took those opportunities when they did it in the Redux version.
Do you guys prefer titles where they have an added like extra title, or do you like it?
It's easier.
Absolutely.
Or do you prefer 1, 2, 3?
If it's both, it's perfect. I prefer both if possible.
Yeah,
so it'd be like Metroid Prime 2 echoes Metroid Prime 3 Corruption.
Yeah.
Like that kind of deal where they have an extra title and the number.
Subtitles help you remember what a game is, but if you stop having a number, then you can't tell what order stuff happens in.
Exactly.
Like, at this point, there's so many Castlevanias, and admittedly they went past the numbering system, but like, back when they were still kind of side-scrolling Metroidvanias as opposed to kind of the more recent third-person action games, having those subtitles are super important because at this point, everybody knows Castlevania Symphony of the Night, not only because it's amazing, but also that's a damn good like subtitle.
But I couldn't tell you what number that was in the series.
Yeah.
5? No.
So here's a fun
6.
challenge for you. Let's say Bird, because he's less likely to know what these things mean.
6. Yep.
So here are the names of 3 games. Zero Escape, Virtue's Last Reward. That's one game. Another game's called 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. Another game is called Zero Time Dilemma. What order did you play them in?
Second, first, third.
Second, first, third. So you're saying 999 and then Virtue's Last Reward and then Zero Time Dilemma?
Yeah.
That is correct.
I knew that entirely because that is the most common order that people will shuffle 3 things into.
God damn it.
Yeah.
And you probably figured that like the thing called last is probably not actually last because that's the trick. But yeah, like what the fuck is up with the naming of that scheme?
The naming of that scheme?
That's a single continuous trilogy. And that's like an ongoing thing. It's like some games that happens. Other games you have the Final Fantasy problem where they just call it numbers and nothing else. And you're like, yeah, I remember what 4 was. Sure. But then other games like Assassin's Creed, they drop the number eventually and they just call them subtitles and you don't know.
I hate the fact that the Final Fantasy MMOs
count as
are
numbers.
numbered. Yeah.
Oh, because you don't consider
Crystal
them part
Chronicles
of the main
isn't or something
franchise
for some reason.
Yeah, Crystal Chronicles. There's like a billion off-brand Final Fantasies because there's the Final Fantasy Tactics. There's the Dissidia series,
there's the
which
sequels to the
apparently
other Final
the new Dissidia
Fantasies.
looks good. Yeah, there's the... Well, I like the Dash 2s because that makes sense.
Does Final
But then
Fantasy
they- then they
XI even
ruin it.
exist anymore? Considering it was that MMO that came out before this new MMO 14.
Here, the problem is that that's how messed up their naming scheme is. Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13 is not called Final Fantasy 13-3.
Really?
That's called
dumb.
Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13, which makes it look like it's just the subtitle of the Final Fantasy 13 game, but it's not.
Yeah.
And then you have the problem of Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, where I fell for that. I started Half-Life 2 with Episode 1 because it's called Episode 1.
Right.
It's not.
I actually did
It's
the same
first
thing.
expansion to Half-Life 2. And I'm like, what?
I went from Half-Life 1 to Half-Life 2 Episode 1, and it was the most confusing thing ever, because already there's like this weird time gap, but then suddenly Gordon Freeman is actually like in the world doing stuff, and I'm like, wait, how did we get
he's
from
out
like
in the
that
woods and shit, and it like
people
makes
have no
no
idea what to
sense.
call
Well,
stuff.
no, you're on a train. You're escaping from the facility at the end of
Half-Life.
at the end of
because
Half-Life 2.
They were going to blow you up, but then they didn't blow you up, and you're like, why am I getting saved from getting blowed up?
Didn't,
why
like, the
are
tower-
the Vortigots
yeah,
helping me?
It's because like the tower exploded and then G-Man freezes time and teleports you somewhere else or something.
Yeah,
And
to
that-
a train
and
at the
that's when
base of the
episode 1
tower.
starts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it totally defeats the purpose of the subversion of mechanics if you start there, because the whole point is the game starts you off with a supercharged mega gravity gun that breaks all the rules of the first version of Half-Life 2, because you could use it on people and just pick up people and throw them at people, and that's not supposed to happen. But I thought that was just how the gravity guns worked, and I'm like, and so when it took it away from me, I thought it was like Alucard, where they drain your powers and you're gonna get them back later, but that doesn't happen because it's normally not like that. Whoops. Yeah, naming schemes are totally screwed. Good luck trying to piece together like the order in which to play, like the order in which to watch Marvel movies like 10 years from now, or the order in which to play play Assassin's Creed games.
It's well, I mean, if you read the comics, you're already like screwed.
Yeah,
trying to keep track of where the chronology is, because they've got numbers, but then anytime they do one of those like big crossover events, you have to then pick up like a random episode of like X-Men, for example, if you want to understand what the hell's going on, because they
or like if you go back, you'd have to watch all these movies and the Avengers movies, and then figure out where they sync up with the television show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And isn't there another one
you look
called
at the Spider-Man
Defenders? Or
franchise, and there's like 1, 2, and 3. What the fuck?
Yep.
How am I going to figure this out?
And then, by the way, these movies are not going to help you out, because the only movies in the entirety... I think the only movies in the entirety of the Avengers chronology so far that features numbers to tell you what order they are in are Iron Man and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right.
All the other sequels are subtitles.
Yeah, Captain America,
Civil War, Winter Soldier, Thor the Dark World, and Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And then even the Avengers movies don't have numbers. Age of Cybertron, or Age of Ultron, I mean.
Ultron.
And stuff like that. And that's all they give you. It's like, that's all you... What? Like, you have to look up a spreadsheet to figure out what order to watch and play things in now, because we don't have numbers. And we can't figure these things out anymore. It's scary. And by scary, I mean completely inconsequential. And not actually important.
Well, is it time for questions? Do we have any?
Yeah.
There's one for me, apparently.
I don't remember if I asked this one already. So I'm going to just ask you again, I guess. if not. Darkrius asks Bird, what is your best advice for a beginning software developer that desires to learn as much as possible of logic and languages? Practice makes perfect, I know, but I'm curious on your insight on the craft.
Oh, man. I'm trying to remember what I did. So...
Suck up to Jeff Bezos as much as possible. Get a job at Amazon. Pretend you do work. Go to concerts.
Pretend you do work.
Pretend you do work and go to concerts. Oh, too true. Too true. Anyway,
I'm used to the office experience of pretending to do work.
So, what I did pretty early on was I got really good at mathematics, which actually helped a lot, because if you really get into computer science and you get into programming, a lot of it becomes this like number theory type of stuff that you do, and that really kind of separates out like the true cream of the crop, in my opinion. But that isn't really practical, so I'm trying to remember like what I did that like helped out the most practically. And I guess what I did was mostly just like I just tried to learn as much as I could. So I tried to learn a whole variety of programming languages pretty much right away. And then I picked the one that I thought was the most fun, and then just got really good at that one. So I kind of went really wide at first, and then I was like, I'm going to become really good at Java, for example. Or I did a lot of work in C, too, when I was like starting out. And then it was from that, I just learned a lot of like algorithms and data structures, and I would just implement them in my favorite languages. So I would learn like, how do you make a linked list in C? How do you make it in Java? And then I was like, okay, I've kind of got the good grasp on that. How do I make a tree in C? How do I traverse a tree and stuff like that? So I did a lot of very pure computer sciencey stuff. And then when it came time to actually doing software engineering, I kind of knew how everything worked under the hood. And I knew like all the basic building blocks of making a computer program and then like organizing it and data sciencey stuff. And then I was able to just make things. But the important thing is I knew exactly what I was doing pretty much at all times, because I knew the language really well and I knew the data structures really well. And with that, I was able to really progress very, very quickly, and I was able to have like a really high standard, and I don't really know how else I can really put it, but that was kind of my route and that took me probably about 2 to 3 years before I really felt like I'd mastered a lot of those things. So it takes some time, and takes a lot of really hard study. But it's just mastering your fundamentals and your mathematics and your data science. So there you go. There's your very, very serious answer in this gaming podcast.
I have a confession to make, which is I think I already asked this question because there's a follow-up question.
Oh, funny.
Because he later
I hope my answer was consistent with my old one.
So we can try to backtrack back, because their follow-up was, so are you saying for a novice programmer that said person should continue to practice their skills, research the knowledge multiple times, continue my mathematics, and feed my appetite for knowledge, which kind of just seems like a nothing vague response, though. Like
I mean...
So you're saying I should learn more.
Yeah, hopefully I... like the answer I just gave, I feel like pretty much lays out exactly like what I think you would primarily get the most bang for your buck for learning how to do. And it also, if you learn these things really well, it also makes your job interviews go by a lot easier, because that's just the nature of how job interviews are usually conducted for technical people, is it's super duper nitty gritty, like highly abstract data science questions. So if you can, not data science, but I forget what the exact term is.
Know all the things,
just say
be updated
general...
on everything until you have no social life. And then you get a job, and then you can focus on that specific thing.
That's not actually too inaccurate. Yeah, I mean...
I live in a house full of tech people I don't understand.
Very hard.
I know their lives.
I worked very, very hard where I was just literally grinding up, like, how to get this data structures and algorithms more or less into my bones. And then when I got to my job, it was much easier because it was just like, apply this thing. Oh, by the way, everything's broken and on fire permanently. So your job is my job is mostly operational stuff and fixing bugs and putting out fires way more than it is about programming. And it's also about having fun and talking to people and going to symphony orchestra concerts. So yeah, there's a very, very serious bird career advice in the middle of the podcast. So there you go.
Serious answers are fun though. I've been doing a lot of those in the Q&A series lately, where I did a whole thing about my childhood, basically, that people were empathizing with, and it's like, yay, I'm kind of helping a few people, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes real answers are necessary. Omni Negro wants to know if anyone has opinions about Enderall, which I had to look up is apparently a total conversion mod for Skyrim, so I don't have an opinion because I just had to look up what it meant.
I don't have an opinion either because I've never heard of it.
What does the mod do?
It's a total conversion, which means that they use the engine and some assets, but they like remake a game within it, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like as if you loaded up Skyrim, but instead of Skyrim, you got a different continent, basically, with its own content inside of it.
Well,
so it's called Enderall, the Shards of Order, and I just found that out.
One thing that I wonder, though, is with all of these mods for Skyrim and Fallout and things, like, are these condoned by the companies that make them, or are they things that people rip?
That's a whole new
that's
can
a
of worms
question.
there. So
because
it varies a lot.
If they're making their own game with it, then what?
So it varies a lot. A lot of them require the base game in order to play. That's often is usually the case in Skyrim. So Bethesda often embraces it as a thing that adds value to their product that they don't have to put effort into, basically. And so, like, and actually that's kind of what they're criticized for, is that they've been trying to monetize more and more how to make money off of other people's mods for their games by trying to, like, make the mods paid so they get a big cut of the money and stuff like that. And people see it as kind of gross because, like, earlier we talked about the idea of, like, how Bethesda games ship broken and incomplete and weird, and they often just never fix them. And so, like,
but then
the idea
their fans fix them?
Yeah, they're like, mods will fix our games and stuff like that, and add all the stuff that people actually makes them like them. And it's like it feels lazy that they rely on mods and the community to basically fix their games or add more interesting content to them. And now they're trying to monetize that part as opposed to just making it be like a beautiful part of the community.
I'm just wondering what would happen if someone took the assets for a game, crafted a new game, and it actually was better than the game that it originally derived from.
That's how you get
they get sued to oblivion.
Yeah, that's every Nintendo fan game, is when somebody tries to make a game based on Pokemon or based on every other part of Nintendo, basically the Metroid Prime attempted game and stuff like that, and then they get a cease and desist to shut it down, or they're going to get sued.
Yeah, so there's some really fantastic Mega Man.
So how do these mods exist then?
Well, mods are kind of condoned. So this is a Skyrim mod. So the
also Nintendo's anti-mod generally too, although you have to jump through extra hoops to mod console games to begin with.
Yeah, so Nintendo is very much anti-mod because they're so protective of their IP. They, for a long time, were even going after, like, Let's Plays, for example. And it took them years to, like, kind of come to grips with, hey, people want to play your game and record it and put it on the internet.
I'm so confused by Nintendo fans, by the way. Like, why aren't there more Stardew Valleys?
Yeah.
You put all that effort in to make an entire game.
I know.
Just don't use their IP. You can use the entire game minus the IP and make $1 billion. Like, boom. Not really $1 billion, but you know what I mean.
Like I absolutely adored Pokemon Uranium, and I like halfway through, I was like, okay, serious question. Why didn't you just make
your own game?
Yeah.
because like this music is fantastic. The visuals are, I mean, a little bit amateurish, but like whatever. And just like in general, this would have been an amazing product. And the answer is because they want to pay an homage. But like, you'd think after the first time Nintendo cracked down on a Pokemon fan game, everybody else would be like, well,
Yeah.
Wouldn't this be the same argument
when
someone could
Sonic
use for fan
fans-
fiction and fan art too?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Well, just rename it, and it's 50 Shades of Grey, and now it's okay.
yeah.
But the thing is,
Or,
if
like-
you're like making a fan game,
You
there
want
is something
people
to be
to
said
notice it.
for. Yeah, it does. It's a lot easier to notice it if it's built off a familiar IP, which is what drives
Yeah.
Nintendo crazy.
Yeah,
Which
that's
is
why
why
some people do
true.
fan
why
art
it's kind of
because
illegal.
people will
'Cause you're trying to make
look
money
at
off
your
of someone's
painting of Batman, but not at your original hero.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Sonic fans got together and made a game called Freedom Planet that uses 0 Sonic assets or names, and they can put it
Yeah.
on Steam and make money off of it. And it's
And
Sonic.
they made a lot.
It's Sonic the
Yeah,
Hedgehog.
It's
It's
super
just
popular.
Sonic.
yeah, but there
do
were
they have
also
their
a
own-
lot of Sonic games over the years that.
Own like
Yeah.
characters and stuff.
Not only is it just
Yeah.
Sonic, but they got to add the more irritating. They got to cater to the part of the Sonic fans that's like, make your own Sonic the Hedgehog, because they made a bunch of different characters that you could pick. And now
Alex the Hedgehog.
And now
Greg
look,
the
and now the
Hedgehog.
new Sonic game has a make your own Sonic character mechanic. And I'm like,
I will
Oh, but that's what everyone.
I will give Sonic Team some credit.
Insert, isn't that why so many series work with MMOs? It's like you can be part of the Star Wars universe.
yeah.
Yeah, Sonic Team's really good about never shutting down Sonic fan
Yeah.
projects,
Yeah.
unless
Well, not only that-
unless you're stupid enough to try to sell it.
Not only that, though, they actually hired a bunch of Sonic like
By the way, I
fan
love
game
Star
makers
Wars.
to make Sonic Mania.
Star Wars.
That actually does not have a single like original developer on it because it's just the fan game people, from what I remember.
Yeah,
Which is actually kind of really cool.
unfortunately,
like-
Sega has their own disgusting business practices though, because when they were making a new sequel or remake of one of their old IPs, they'd like shut down the channels of anyone who had ever uploaded a video of the old version because they wanted
Yeah, I
to clear the
remember that.
SEO for their new version. I'm like, that's disgusting. Sega's
Yeah.
really fucked up too in their own different ways.
I don't know if they still do that though.
Sure hope not, because I have a lot of Sega videos.
Yeah.
They make Yakuza and Sonic.
Like, I haven't heard of it since, what was it, Shining Force?
Yeah,
think-
that was the one.
I think it was,
that was where they
yeah,
did
it was Shining Force. Yeah, I think Shining Force was the first and the last, because they got some real bad press for that.
So, all in all, then, like our opinions regarding modded games, like to the extent where it's a complete overhaul, like the question stated, like
I guess I
just make your own game.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like especially in terms of Pokemon mods, I absolutely crave like new Monster Collection RPGs. I love them. I can't get enough of them, but I don't want to play Pokemon anymore because it's not new. It hasn't been
Unfortunately,
new
the
for
formula's
years.
gotten
So
tiresome.
you have to make there's a value judgment to be made about like, do you want to latch onto the existing IP for exposure, or do you want to advertise yourself as a fan mix, like spin-off of that concept, and make yourself like a Stardew Valley that could be like, there's more risk reward there where it could be a huge profit thing because you
guess-
can charge money for it, but also no one might ever know about it. But if you are going to make a total conversion mod, you better be damn sure you know that the company's cool with it. And it better be like
Yeah.
a mod, as in not like a, hey, download this thing on my website. It's a thing I made that's like a Metroid Prime or something. Like, no, you need to make a total conversion mod that like like latches into the existing purchase of the game, because that means that they're going to be okay with it. And that's how you get these total conversion mods of all the different Bethesda games that happen fairly surprisingly frequently, I think. Like, I think Enderall's even a sequel to Nehrim at Fate's Edge, which was also that was an Oblivion total conversion mod. And then like what Portal Stories Mel is a total conversion. Like it's just a new campaign of Portal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you need to own Portal 2 to play it, because it's given its own Steam page and everything, and it's free, but it's treated as a mod for Portal 2, and that's what makes it not this gross thing that gets really problematic really quick, where you're like making a free game for people to download that is nonetheless somebody else's game ultimately that you're repackaging and potentially profiting off of.
I don't know. I just hope Stardew Valley's success leads more people to trying the same thing. Not only from like a farm simulator thing, because those are actually really good fun, but also like just I don't know.
Wait, so did Stardew take from Harvest Moon or something?
Yeah,
or?
Stardew Valley is very, very derivative of the very first couple of Harvest Moons.
Yep.
Back when they were on the SNES, they were on the SNES first. And it honestly, like, goes kind of above and beyond them in a lot of ways. And it feels fantastic. And it was made by one dude. I don't know.
And we're getting that more and more is when someone's not doing enough with their IP, we're getting more and more cases of somebody just making a new version of their IP, but just calling it something else and getting away with it. And that's just a thing that's going to happen here out. And it's the smart thing to do. Like, Last Fight is the long-awaited, finally, like, actual, like, follow-up to Power Stone, because Power Stone's been dead since the Dreamcast. But Last Fight is a game that is Power Stone.
Big companies, like, don't want to take risks, even on things that, like, to us seem like, yeah, that would be totally an easy thing to do, but even that's too much risk. Like, Nintendo, they're going to make a Mario game. They're always going to do that because they know it's going to sell well. Nintendo might not even make a Metroid game because that's too risky.
Yeah,
even if it will sell well, it might not risky. It might not sell enough.
Maybe we can sell it if we put amiibos in it.
Yeah, at this point, they've confirmed they're making another Metroid.
Well, they have the Metroid Prime 4
that was confirmed
teaser.
in the last E3.
Yeah. But there was a while they didn't make any new Metroids.
No, they didn't even. Well, they did.
How many of the primary Nintendo franchises even showed up on the Wii U?
It was Other M that pretty much, like, soured everyone's opinion of Metroid for a while, unfortunately, because the Metroid Prime trilogy was amazing. I mean, they even repackaged it.
So did you guys hear about
if you look really, really close to the end of that subtitle at the end of Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE, those last three symbols represent the entirety of Fire Emblem's presence on the Wii
U. Yep. Did you guys hear about Dead Rising 4?
Which part about it? No. Its general existence?
The fact
or
that
what?
it sold less than 1 million copies and does not show up on any of Capcom's
they
financial report stuff because they're so embarrassed about it. Yeah.
Jeez.
They're sweeping that game under the rug super hard, which sucks, but I mean, they kind of deserve it.
Maybe don't just shit on why anyone ever liked the thing you made. Maybe just, like, stop... It's the worst thing ever when a company takes something that's a niche, interesting project and like, well, that did okay, but I want to make it better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it the most bland shit ever made. Because that means appeals to everyone, by which I mean nobody. Yeah, the middle years of Resident Evil, like 5 and 6, of just like, it's going to be we're going to put $1 billion into it, but it's going to be the most generic possible interpretation of what we think is popular AAA video games.
Yeah.
Like, I can't emphasize enough how boring Resident Evil 6 is and how weird Resident Evil 4 was. Resident Evil 4 is bizarre. It's a strange game, and that's why people liked it so much. And Dead Rising 1 is the most strange game. You take erotica photos of zombies to get experience points.
What?
Yeah. You don't get experience from killing things. You get experience from...
All you gotta do to make your game good is
you got
make
some
it
experience
memey.
for killing things, but you got a lot of experience for taking photos.
I only played Resident Evil 2 on the Nintendo 64, so...
Oh, we're talking about Dead Rising.
Oh, now you're talking about Dead Rising. Oh, you guys were talking about Resident Evil for a while, so I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But then I said Dead Rising.
Yep, sorry.
Dead Rising was good. It's like a love letter to how ridiculous Dawn of the Dead was, the first one, where it was like a bunch of campy slapstick horror violence in a mall. And so, like, Dead Rising, like, you can put on a Mega Buster costume and shoot people with styrofoam balls that don't actually help, and you can hit people with genuine weapons, or you could pick up like a crappy toy laser sword and it's just plastic, so you just thwack them and they fall over and they get back up, and it's useless.
I think I might know about the game you're talking about.
You can grab a golf club and a bunch of golf balls and just practice your golf shot again to trying to get just headshots on zombies. Like, it's a bonkers ridiculous game. And the second game was like, we're gonna do that, but also you can mix weapons together, so now you can get like a chainsaw, 2 chainsaws, and you duct tape them to the ends of like oars for a kayak, and now you're gonna have a dual wielding chainsaw Darth Maul sword. And the new one was like, we're gonna make it Uncharted. It's going to be really straightforward and have no mechanics and no emergent gameplay mechanics, and you're gonna get bored because this is what people want.
We've reached the end of the stream. Have you do you have any spicy food poop stories you'd like to share with us?
I mean, my eye's been twitching this entire podcast, which is super uncomfortable.
His eye's been twitching for
it's been going on for like 3 days.
When is your
you need
eyelid
a fucking banana, dude?
When is your eyelid just gonna burst?
I don't know. I might actually have to like go to the doctor for this sort of thing, because it's like, if it persists for a week, go see a doctor. And I'm like, okay, that's worrying.
Get your ass some potassium, and then you'll be fine.
I guess I haven't tried that. We've been afraid of bananas ever since fruit flies became like a serious problem for this apartment.
Unless we put the bananas in the refrigerator, at which point they'll brown like nothing else. Yeah, I remember when we initially moved in here, of course he insisted on getting bananas.
I love bananas.
I know. But then we were having so many of them flitting around our heads at night while we were reading books and stuff. It's just like, no!
Where were the flies coming
one
from?
Banana.
Were these
you
coming
can
in
get
the door?
bananas in groups of one, right?
Just go to the convenience store
yeah.
and buy bananas and then eat them in the parking lot.
I mean, it depends on the store, but I've definitely bought bananas by the pound before, which is really funny when you take one off of the thing and they give you a weird look.
We have frozen bananas in the refrigerator still, don't we?
Yeah. No, I should probably be more proactive about this. I was just like, I'm just going to take it real easy this week. And then all the games came out, and I'm like, motherfucker.
And what was it about potassium that's supposed to help with your eye twitch?
I guess. I don't know.
Oh, by the way, because you talked about wanting to do it in parallel and stuff, I just finished Zelda. I don't know if I'm going to jump straight into the Master Sword trial stuff or not, but in the near future, like probably before the next podcast, I'll probably be starting State of Decay.
Okay.
Probably be the next thing in
my
the slot.
Patreons are going to be happy, because that is going to be that has been the second place winner for every single vote I've done.
I figured that's the next, like, potentially mechanically interesting open world game to play after finishing Zelda.
I'd be down, because we've got the multiplayer version, which we should.
You mean the sequel, or is there a mod now?
Well, the sequel is going to have multiplayer. There is a multiplayer mod, but apparently it's like ridden with viruses, or riddled with viruses.
Wait,
so we're going to stay away from that.
Hooray!
Yeah, it was one of those where it was a promising project that a bunch of people are downloading, and then it got bought out by somebody that had less than ethical
intentions.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Concerning.
Or it's one of those where it was always vaporware and just nobody realized it, and they're just capitalizing on SEO to give people viruses. Not really sure on that one. One way or another, it's super shitty.
My favorite part of humanity is how it ruins everything.
Yeah. Can't wait for the sequel that is going to be officially multiplayer. Yay.
Bye-bye, everybody. Send your questions to fournerdsquestions@gmail.com.
If you're watching on SoundCloud, and it's also 2020,
then
shoot me an email now and let me know what happened. Let me know what happened. I'll be very curious to hear that story.
SoundCloud RIP. Yeah, if you're listening to this in audio form somewhere, I don't know when, but there's a very real chance it'll have to relocate somewhere, and then might fuck up like iTunes feeds and stuff, because SoundCloud's dying, and that's where.
Send us an email now, so we know where to upload it.
If you want to, the website I host Grave of Man through has like 2 more podcast feeds that we like run through.
That's
so I can just give you access to that.
Because it's just gonna die now. Bye. Glad I paid like $100 for that. Or I don't remember how much it was, but I paid for a year.
Yeah.
And little did we know. What was that?
It's the end of The Price is Right. When somebody loses, it's like, boom, 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 boom.
Oh, the bum bum bum.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it just did. How did it bum 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 bum?
I didn't hear the beginning part properly.
I did it twice.
It's fine. It's fine.
I like how mad Bert is about this.
It's fine, Bert. We're talking about Dead Rising now.
No, we're talking about EDF.
See y'all next time.